Hello, everybody.
Okay, hi Abundance. I'm just checking, is my screen visible and can I be heard?
Your screen was visible. It's gone off now, but you can definitely be heard.
1 second, thank you. I'll just double check that.
Yep,
Okay,
visible again. It's your phone screen.
great. And you see the list of listeners and you should see everything.
Yes.
Excellent. That's really cool. Thank you. Thanks to Stephen for sharing. It's just fantastic. Really helps. Voices matter. People here in DAI in the wider PulseChain community come from different backgrounds and ages and many different perspectives. And I think the more ways we have to communicate, the better we understand each other. And these VCs are just a way to open that up. It gives everyone a regular, consistent space to speak and listen. And there's no pressure to talk, of course. But the space is here if you want it. I don't see these VCs being too structured, and for good reason, because open conversation is an excellent structure in itself. Albeit this week, much of the focus, I believe, is going to be around the improved use of AI through experience. And we have a few people in our community that really know what they're talking about. I think Bavarian is going to be joining us in a while, and we're going to be talking about his app, which really is there to help us. It's kind of a central part of why we're having this VC in the first place today. So I thought I would kick off with something I've been thinking on for quite some time. After reading X's own authenticity policy, and something about it stood out to me. They don't really describe the problem as AI was used. They talk about inauthentic activity. They talk about spam. They talk about fake personas. They talk about duplicate content, and any behavior that manipulates our content is discovered or amplified. That matters because X also says reach can be limited when posts violate rules or they create a negative experience or get picked up by quality and safety ranking as sort of low quality or spam like posts. So I don't think the issue is AI equals less reach. That's too simple. The issue is that bad AI use can create the exact signals that platforms already dislike. That same rhythm, those same polished paragraphs people are used to seeing now, the same fake certainty, the same thought leader voices, that same duplicated structure over and over again. And in crypto, that can get messy fast because it turns into synthetic conviction and people stop using AI to support their thinking and instead are using it, I think, to outsource their voices, their research, and sometimes even their judgment. Used properly, AI should make your thinking sharper, but I think used badly, it just makes you sound mass produced. And that's part of why this VC will focus mostly on AI pitfalls, practical experiences, and where people are going wrong. And like I say, we're fortunate to have a few members with a much better understanding of how to use AI effectively for specific tasks. And one or two of them will be jumping on to share their experience and knowledge with the community. If there's any issue with the screen share or any tech bug mishap takes place, please just say, and I'll do my best to rectify it here. This is the first time I'm doing a screen share, but I think I may have it figured out. And thanks to the It's actually Dr. Pegger helped me figure it all out this week. So we did a dry run, and it seems to have worked. I hope everyone's having a good day wherever you are.
Yeah, nice one, Osprey. You're loud and clear, bro, and yeah, it looks good.
Cool. Basically, it's just a blank screen, right? You've got just the list of what I see on my own screen. If I come back into chat, you should be able to see chat now. And
See our stud Victor, Somi, Aid, the boys.
Doc, as I'm like looking at my screen here, I'm just looking at chat. Can you still see all the speakers on your end, or is it just
Yes.
full screen chat? Cool, excellent.
Yeah,
all right.
and so the speakers are kind of on the right, kind of on the panel, and then in the
Gotcha.
center you've got the screen share.
That's excellent and awesome. Thanks for helping me figure that out. It was like stressful trying to get it right, but it's yeah. I've been doing a bit of back and forth with Bavarian. I think we're going to be going through the application or the sort of site he's put together. He's going to help better explain that in a while. So I thought that would be useful. But I kicked off with that stuff about AI on X. I like that's my sort of understanding of it. I could be very wrong, but I was just looking at it from a policy perspective. Like, I feel like when PulseChain launched, so many people, like, we had no idea how to use AI, and we were just experimenting with it. Really, I think ChatGPT was that was the talk of that year. But obviously, things have changed a lot, significantly since then. And I think people are using it more now, last year, and definitely this year, to approach so many things. And it's just such a new tech. And I wonder how it's affecting our post reach in general, not just as a community, but as crypto in general. I think maybe some of us are running aground on X policy and seeing our reach being slightly limited. I'm none too sure, but that was my understanding of it this week.
Massively. I think essentially it's an attempt to police misinformation, which I don't think's a wrong stance. I mean, Elon made it very clear when he took over X, right, that he wanted to have community notes at the forefront of a lot of posts to make sure that people weren't being sort of led down the garden path and things weren't presented as truth when they're actually not just fabricated. And I think it's just in alignment with those values that they have set from day one. So I think a lot of that is to do with that. How that plays out is yet to be seen, right? Like, it's kind of, as you said, it's such a new industry. I mean, I've come to the conclusion now that the whole world is using AI, whether we like it or not. So, like, you can't stop this train, and like, it's at a point now where, like, okay, so how can I use it beneficially? How can I use it ethically? How can I ensure that whatever I'm doing is in alignment? Like, how can I use it in a way where you're actually becoming productive with it, right? You're not just kind of using it like you use Google, because most people, 99% of the people on planet Earth, are using it just as like an extension of Google, right? And a lot of the time they'll get, that's where the whole AI slop thing comes from, because they do get things wrong, and it's like, where is the truth coming from? All that kind of fear and anxiety. But like I say, at the end of the day, you can't stop it. So it's beat them. It's like, if you can't beat them, join them, kind of thing, right? And also, like, if you've got if you know where you're going, I think of it as like a map. If you know where you're going and you know where you are, it's easy to set a course, right? So there's a lot of noise out there, there's a lot of bullshit and this and that, but really it comes back to, how do I use AI? What is it good for? What am I trying to learn from it? What's the benefits? How am I helping other people? you know, and just aligning yourself correctly with it and using it, and remembering that it is just a tool. You know, it's no different from using a screwdriver at home to try and fix something or replace a light bulb. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to fuck it up anyway. So but if you get good at it, you can do things efficiently and do things quickly, and then suddenly that screwdriver becomes really valuable to you. So you have to just acknowledge it for what it is, which is just a tool, nothing more than that. And don't buy into the kind of all the distraction and the bullshit and the fear mongering and the rage bait and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I start. You know, I start with that basis. Just think it's just a tool. I'm using it, and to be honest, I mean, I personally love it. I'm a proponent of AI. I was just taking the counter argument of, okay, so, you know, if you don't like AI, if everything is AI slop in your eyes and blah, 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 and you don't like the way that the direction that the world is going, really that opinion is, well, there's nothing you can do about it. It's going that way either. But if you're in the camp where you like AI, which is the camp that I sit in very firmly, you'll know that, well, this is the biggest opportunity that humanity's ever had. I mean, you've got instant information. I mean, if people told you 50 years ago, or even even less than that, maybe 30 years ago, just when the iPhones started coming out, 2006 or whatnot, that was 20 years ago, but I'm saying, a bit prior to that, when the first Nokias came out, 10 years prior, whatever, when you first, you can pull out a device in your pocket that will get you instant information, and you can connect with people all around the world. Even when that first phone came out, you'd been like, no way is that going to happen. But here we are. We've got drones being built. We've got they're making AI robots for housekeepers. Like, this is just part of life. Like, it's going that way now. It's, just technology, right?
It's incredible. Like, you've been around a long time. Knowing a world that had privacy, it's a huge transition.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
I remember paying £5 to use the internet for the first time, and you could visit AOL, and I think the BBC had a very, 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 very early website. There's no video or anything like that. I remember paying £5 to use it, and now here we are. It's incredible.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, I remember even the first broadband. We had broadband connected in our area. We were kind of like the catchment area, as they say in the UK back in the day, and kind of we got like 500 megabytes. I think it was 500 meg, or 500. It might have been, it was 500 KB. Sorry, kilobytes. So for anybody who knows what that is, that's half a meg, which obviously is absolutely nothing today. You could just about stream your favorite bit, like GIF from Trigon.
Yeah.
But
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it feels like yesterday, because it was yesterday. I mean, when you look at how long humanity's been around and how long technology has existed, 30 years is just a piece of sand in the sandbox, right? But it seems like everything is converging at such a speed. We're going at such a hyper speed in terms of technology. It's almost like I heard there's a guy, I'm reading this book at the moment called We Are Gods, and it's about AI basically. And the guy that's talking about how it's almost like we're coming into our adolescence age or teenager period of humanity now with our own technology, where things get really we've only just touched adolescence in terms of our actual potential and technology, and this is when it gets really exciting as we go through the rocky teenager years of growing up as a humanity. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
When did you notice AI as useful to you? Like, what was it?
The first time I came across it fully, I think it was 2022, and I was with a friend, and he said to me, I was at my local church, and he was kind of a friend of a friend, and And I was talking about, he was saying, "Oh, what you're up to, blah blah blah." And I was actually writing just an interesting fact. I'm a bit of I write a few scripts basically. I'm a script writer in real life, so I do bits and pieces, but that's one of my passions. I'm just a bit of fun that I do. And I was writing scripts in 2022, and he said, "Oh, what's it about? What's the plot? Blah blah blah." And he pulled his phone out and he just typed it in on a thing. Initially, I thought he was trolling me. He was probably partly trolling me, but he was also teaching me. And he typed it into his phone, and he said, "Oh, watch." And it literally wrote a script. Of course, the script was trash, but it wrote it in like seconds. It was like, "Oh, write me a script about." I was researching Alexander the Great at the time, so I said, "Write me a script about Alexander the Great." Blah blah blah. And it was like bang bang bang, and it just literally issued it there and then. I was like, "That's weird," but I didn't quite get it. I was like, "Yeah, but that's trash. There's no." My initial response, obviously, as a naysayer, as every person is when they first come across new technology, was, "Oh, that's trash, though, isn't it? Like it's he's printed it. There's no value in that, surely." So that was my initial push, and obviously, you get sentimental of what you're doing, right? You want to be protective of what you're doing. Like, I want to be a real screenwriter. So yeah, that was an interesting experience. But then, fast forward 5 years, and like AI's like, you can't deny it. Like I said before, you've got to either accept that it's here or get left behind.
It's fabulous. I don't know if you call what's the AI that comes with Amazon, Alexa, right? I have our children are talking, they're using the AI to speak to it and stuff. It's like we grew up with like Knight Rider, do you know what I mean? And now our sons and daughters are using AI. Our youngest is 5, and he knows how to use AI to ask some pretty, just regular questions, speak to YouTube, ask for something to come up. Like we seem to be interacting less with keyboards and writing. We seem to be using our voices more. The audio feature, the AI is listening to us, and I think our sons and daughters are all just going to grow up in a very, very, very different world to us. That the tech is just, the time saving alone is just incredible. It's so intuitive. I think that's very exciting. It takes out so much time wastage.
Absolutely. Can I just check? Is my sound a bit better now?
It is. Yeah, that's good sound actually. Yes, it's different. A little bit. How's mine?
Yes, good.
Okay.
Yeah, I sort of had my attention on it, so I wasn't fully enjoying speaking. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I think it is the most exciting time to be alive, in my opinion. I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist, as you probably worked out, and a lot of people have worked out, because I just can't. What's the point? What's the point in looking at things negatively when you can just choose happiness? Of course, things happen and things are out of your control, and you can become the effect of things. But eternal optimism generally works out for people. So yeah, I'm kind of in the camp of I think it's the most amazing opportunity. Here's the issue. The issue is, where do we go, right? What do we do with it? How do we maximize it? And my opinion, and this is what my experience has been of AI so far, just have fun with it, right? Just play with it. Experiment with ChatGPT, experiments with Claude, try some others. There's some other AIs. You can even program your own AI and isolate a local environment, which you buy a cheap Lenovo computer or PC or something like that, and you can build it from the ground up and isolate it and keep it away from your private information, any Gmail accounts, all that kind of stuff, any iCloud accounts, whatever your cloud you're using, or whatever just don't connect certain accounts to it. Do your research of your sandbox, because you can then set up like things like AI agents, and you can experiment, and you can create email addresses if you're trying to launch a business idea, or like it really is limitless. And that can also create, as we know, the analysis paralysis, right? The idea of like, oh shit, I've got the world at my fingertips, so what shall I do for the rest of my life, because I can do anything now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is that thought kind of that does come on people's minds. So, but you don't have to do that. You can keep it simple, and you can say, well, I've got family, I've got this, I'm busy. just focus on the small stuff, right? Just think, oh, well, I'll do a little bit of research on PDI. I'll do a little bit of research on the 80,000 Bitcoin that was moving, which shout out to him, Mike, by the way. That video was incredible. If anyone hasn't seen it yet, I'll definitely drop it in the chat. And you can use this AI for, I mean, predominantly I use AI for research and development. So it's always R&D with PDI. And by development, I mean, can I develop my conviction in terms of, can I learn more about what's actually happening, and then, allocate those funds accordingly. I mean, I've never been more bullish. I meant it when I said it yesterday. I've hit reset mentally, psychologically yesterday. I'm ready for the next 12 months. I know people don't want to hear that, but I'm ready.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear it. Because that's how it is. That's the reality. And
Why did you say 12 months?
Just because if we presumably have bottomed, right? So that's the big question, right? Have we bottomed between now and October? And when I say bottomed, I mean two things: Bitcoin and PulseChain. Obviously, they have to be respected independently, but one generally follows the other. There is an argument to be made that because of the lack of legal, the legal overhang from the Richard Hart cases and Interpol, Europol, etc., even SEC, has suppressed the ecosystem. So we never really had a bull run. This cycle, we had a bit of a run. We had this, we had that. Some people made money, but the mass majority of pulsicans and hexagons and PDAR and ditards made no money. So, like, is it? Where are we in the cycle is the question. In my opinion, based on all the statistics that I've got, like the information that I've, I mean, a lot of people are kind of, whether they've accepted it yet or not, and they're still trying to fight it, or whether they have got to the point where they go, okay, the cycle is probably bottomed, or it's kind of over, or we're not in a mid-cycle correction anymore. Because here's the thing: in 2 years' time, if we run up, some people will still be saying, "Oh, that was just a mid-cycle correction. The big boom is coming." But it doesn't really matter which camp you're in, but you can't really miss the next cycle. Like, the bottom line is you can't miss it again. I think everybody did everything right this cycle, but we didn't get what we deserved. What we deserved. I mean, if you believe in the natural laws of the universe, it's kind of spooky how Richard Hart had the best performing asset last cycle, and then arguably the worst performing ecosystem this cycle in terms of new releases. Does that make sense? So, like, I'm not saying it's the worst performer, but it's down 95%. There are other, I'm not saying it's, I'm also saying that the value and the price are not reflecting. So, like, the worst performing in terms of price performance, but in my opinion, the best performer in terms of technology. So, like, it's important to differentiate between them. But yeah, to answer your question, Abundance, the reason I say about 12 months is because I believe that we've bottomed. Between now and October, we'll 100% have bottomed in terms of the greater market, Bitcoin included. Ethereum will follow, large caps, and PulseChain. If we have a bit more blood, maybe we'll go 50% from here, but I just can't see it happening.
Okay, does that mean that you're excluding TDI and what's
Yes.
going on with the building? Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that, dude.
Okay.
Sorry, I realized I didn't acknowledge that. I was talking about cores mostly. But yeah, PDI always. And here's another interesting thing about AI on the subject. I've actually inserted instructions, because when you're using AI, you must customize your AI. It's very important. I'm sure Bavarian, Osprey, myself will go into it in detail at some point today. But the customization is so important. And one of my customizations is to treat PDI as an independent thesis. So I've said, when I talk to my AI about PulseChain cores and liquidity levels and pairs and DEX tools and DEX screeners and all your cool and interesting cool shit, I say, make sure you keep PDI as a separate thesis, which obviously I've published my thesis, right? PDI-thesis.netlify.app, right? So everybody knows what I think on that. I've made sure my AI knows that too, and said, keep that as a separate thesis. So at any point when I'm talking about cores or bottoming in the market, blah, 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 really I'm talking about anything that is pre-peg. So, like, the peg has not yet happened. Obviously at peg, that's a completely different story. That's, you know, 80,000 Bitcoins worth of value, essentially pegging a unbacked stable coin, which is just going to create this hyperloop of explosive gains across the entire ecosystem and basically vampire attack all of DeFi. That's the thesis on PDAI, and that will remain until disproven, basically.
Thank you very, very much for that thesis that you wrote, by the way. It's excellent. Because what I did at first, I was speaking to, I think it was Grok, and with Grok, I put in, you know, what does it think of PDAI? And it had a bunch of negativity to say, yeah, nothing nice, like basically, yeah. And so what I did, I put in your thesis and a lot of other stuff from Decentralized Me, from Coexistence Stephen. I think some of the information from the Pulse Vision group as well, their videos, etc. And after a few days or a couple of weeks, whatever, the output from Grok now is a lot more positive. And this takes us back to what you were saying earlier about the way AI functions. AI will just use whatever it can find, and it will base its response on basically anything. So when you're talking about, I think you said configuring it, you're right, because you have to steer the AI. AI will pick up any garbage and turn that into something that it thinks is meaningful. And just as you guys were saying earlier, the average reader will take that as gospel. So you have to steer it in the direction that you want it to go in. Totally. But long story cut short, now with all the added information that I have put into the AI, the output regarding PDAI is a lot more positive.
That's a good point, mate. I appreciate that, dude. Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, look at us as just as humans, right? If you wake up and the first thing you do is reach for your phone, you're completely at the effect of what happened on social media the night before, right? You're completely at the mercy of your feed, depending on whether it's good news or bad news or whatever your algorithm is delivering you. So it's the same way, isn't it? It's like you're the AI in that scenario. Like, you don't know what's like, unless you take a step back and say, okay, what is true, what is not true, what am I interested in as well? Like, can I have the discipline to not reach for my phone and, you know, clear my mind after a long night's sleep and, you know, do those healthy habits? This is an example, but you kind of treat that like you would treat your AI, right? You point your mind in the direction that you want. If you open up social media and the first video you see is something negative, right, that could set the tone for the day. Is it a negative day? No, it's completely neutral. But you've fed your own information, so you're programming your own mind based on the effect of other things. And it's the same way with AI, because you're programming the AI, you're teaching the AI where to look and what to look for, because it doesn't know. It does, like you say, it doesn't know. It's kind of like completely neutral, just like your brain. Your brain is just neutral. Of course, you're shaped by your experiences and things like that, but ultimately, every time you wake up in the morning, generally, especially if you've had a good night's sleep, you're fresh, right? You're kind of fresh. Your mind is open, and it's, you know, it can take information in. So if the first thing you're feeding it is false, right, false information, misinformation, then you're just going to be misinformed from the get-go. But you don't know that you're misinformed. That's the point. The point is you don't know that you're misinformed, because that's just the way the brain works, right? It doesn't know the difference between real and reality. You know, when you hear about these like manifestation camps and they say, or meditation, and they say, go to a happy place, go to here, go to there. Your brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what's not true. So if you're imagining a beach and you're chilling out on that, that's real. You're experiencing that in real time. You're, as in your brain, you know in your heart that it's not real, right? But your brain doesn't know the difference. And really, it's about weaponizing and protecting your brain, protecting your mind, and protecting your AI as well, because the personalization, you've got to understand, right? Another way to look at it is your brain is like a supercomputer, isn't it? Because it is. Nobody argues, oh no, it's not a computer. Well, it is. It is, because it's sending information, no different from like a computer is sending information. and what's happening right now is really humans are using their brains to connect with AI, and AI is feeding the brains. It's like this reinforced loop across them, and you've just got to be wary. All you've got to do is just proceed with caution. It's all you've got to do is tailor your experience. No different from tailoring your social media, right? If you've ever cleared up your social media feed and unfollowed like negative accounts or people that you went to school with who you don't even care about anymore, this is an example, you know, like a real life problem. Or you've ever like followed like positive accounts like Power of Positivity or this person or blah 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 blah, and you've tailored your feed, you'll know that that experience reflects in your reality because you're feeding your information. If you think that the world is rainbows and daisies, and I'm not saying be detached, but you know, you'll start seeing rainbows and daisies. It's just programmed. It's just the way it is. Your brain will connect patterns, and you can start there, you know. And it's the same way with AI abundance, exactly as you said, dude. You know, you've got to you could just got to tailor it. And it's very interesting what you said about Grok, because Grok is almost like the most used AI, especially from a cultural perspective, because I was reading that more people are on X now and active on now than Facebook was at its peak, which I thought was interesting. So you've got more people on X, following you know, a billionaire who's sending us to space. You know what I'm saying? Which is very interesting. It's just kind of like the culture is shifting, you know, like everything is shifting in different directions. And he's very bullish on AI. I mean, as you know, I mean, he's got AI companies and his cars run off AI. I mean, the Tesla alone isn't even a car. It's basically a computer on wheels. It can literally know it's absorbing so much information and analyzing so much information. It can actually fix itself. It's a computer that's aware of itself. It's mental, absolutely mental. So yeah, I mean, Osprey, don't get me started on AI, bro. I mean, it's technology. I can talk for hours. So it's good to be here.
No, that's the purpose of today. It's good. It's good to learn. Some of us are very, very new to it, and some of us are really rather experienced, like yourself, Stephen. I think too. Bavarian, obviously. 9iron seems to have a very good grasp of it for data gathering.
Another thing about AI is that even though it appears to be doing its own thinking, it's actually not. It's just processing. For example, because I've been doing quite a bit of work on AI myself, and one of the things I've realized is that, you know, when you see on Google, for example, you type in your query, you do your little search, and it comes up with that AI overview at the top. Now, all it's done, it appears that it's the Google AI or whatever it is, Gemini, whatever. It looks like that has come up with its own reasoning. It actually hasn't. All it's done is it's visited a bunch of websites that have got a specific bit of code inserted into the site. So the AI, what it does, it sees that the code's there and it reads those particular websites. That's actually something I've been working on, a project called Hive EO over the last like couple of months or so. What the project does basically, it enables websites to be seen by AIs because AI is taking over search little by little. Obviously, Google used to dominate the search engine industry, but now that Google itself isn't being broken up, but their market share in terms of AI search or in terms of searches is now being broken up because whereas before everyone went to google.com to do their search, not anymore. People are now opening up their phones, they're going into ChatGPT, they're going into Perplexity, Claude, and all the others, Grok, whatever, and they're actually doing their searches in there now. But all of those search engines still work off the same way. They all pull their information from the websites that have got the information and the AI readable code in the websites.
That's so true. I mean, I think now I don't think I've thinking about it now. I can't remember the last time I used Google. So that's very interesting.
Again, it's not the AI. Obviously, there's a lot of well, not it's not exactly thinking. There's a lot of processing being done with AI, especially when it comes to making graphs, making images, and all this other wonderful stuff it can do. But in terms of pulling information, it's still pulling the information from websites.
Yeah, and that comes back to the personalization element. I mean, because there are, you can tailor it. Like, for example, Claude. Claude is my favorite personally at this time. I spend most of my time on Claude for a number of reasons. I like the UI. I like the apps. I like the customization, the design elements. Claude code is so good. You can like literally write code. It's got decompilers. So decompilers, for those that aren't aware, it basically unpacks code from its base, like its source code, effectively, which is really quite cool. So like if you put a contract in there, you can basically unpack it. This is what Bavarian's been spending a lot of time doing. And you combine that with AI and you educate the personalization format, and you can literally teach it like, okay, so here's the thing. You can say, I am now a research developer. I mean, in fact, what I'll do is I'll just open up mine, if that's all right. And I'll just read what mine is. So for example, because I have projects, the number one thing I would recommend anybody who's using AI is to create projects, because you can tailor those projects to specific things. So for example, if you're writing, like, let me give you two examples. If you're writing a poem or a short story or something creative, obviously you want to avoid boundaries and rules and laws, as it were. Does that make sense? So like you want to, obviously you have, your 3-act structure and you have things like that. But your start, your setup, your inciting event or whatever, your main chunk of the movie, and then your closeout, your conclusion. That's generally how movies operate, right? As an example, we all watch movies. So at least I hope we do anyway. It's 2026, but and then so that would be a creative thing. So you would tailor a project to that specific thing, right? So there's kind of room for error, if that makes sense, because you're being creative. But if you're doing something like research, there is no real margin for error, because when it comes to research, you're trying to duplicate as much of accurate information as you can from a source that you believe to be accurate. So your assumption is, okay, this information is true. Fortunately, we are researching the blockchain, and the blockchain doesn't lie. So, you have a massive advantage, because you're not kind of duplicating something based on someone else said. Is dinosaurs real? Well, if you ask all the if you ask all the early kind of guys that are digging up bones, the paleontologists, depends on who you ask, right? Did T-Rex exist? What year period did it exist? Well, this information says this and this information says that, blah, 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 blah. Then the consensus is, they existed. But again, you rely on humans to validate that. But with blockchain, you don't. It's immutable. It doesn't lie. It just presents information that is being actioned by humans and other people, like AI bots using the blockchain. So the PDAI research, for example, there's loads here. There's loads and loads here, but it basically says PDAI research project instructions, right? This is an operating document for myself and Claude. Keep us focused, fact first, no looping. What is the purpose of the document? This is me talking about PDAI research as a project on Claude. Determine on evidence whether a sustainable PDAI repeg is happening or can happen, and convert open questions into checkable on-chain facts. Avoid narrative loops. So avoiding narratives, avoid both hopium and unearned doom, right? What's the operating lens? The premise we reason from. So for analysis, we adopt this as a working premise, not a proven fact. Richard Hart retains control of the chain. So straight away, I've tailored the project to state the assumption. We've made an assumption, okay? And it's important that we acknowledge these for what are we assuming, what is fact, what are we inferring, because inference is basically what we're speculating based on fact, is it right? And then there's speculation. So it's important to separate those. And I've made an assumption that Richard Hart retains control of the chain. So straight away, you've got a starting point. So you've said to the AI, because here's where AI sometimes goes, well, often goes wrong. If you feed it all the information, you've set no direction, you've set no assumptions, no basis, no starting line. It's just like, oh yeah, that looks like it's just being extracted. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's something wildly it'll throw out. Because unless you present an assumption and state the assumption is that Richard Hart remains in control of the chain, it will just assume that he may or may not. And then it'll spend too much time and energy on the may or may not. And then you can't even get to the next level, the next step, which is what's he doing on the chain? Does that make sense? The next question is, what's he doing? So these are sort of important. So that's an operating lens, right? Obviously, everyone's got their own systems and everybody's got their own kind of way of doing things. And then it's like things like, how is the lens used, right? To run the bull case at full strength and ask, if this is all true, what should we see on chain? And do we? So it's kind of asking like, this is the stuff that's happening on chain and do we see it? The lens generates predictions that we test. It does not close questions before checking. It's another thing that AI does, right? It closes questions before actually exploring them. Sometimes it will assume that it already knows what your response will be. And this comes back to tailoring it, and then there are things like tiering every claim, like, what we talked about before, putting it into little boxes, right? They're like little buckets of proven, we pulled it, strong, researchers, receipts, checkable, claimed, which is single source, like if one thing has been a claim, right? Because if one person's claimed something, that's a claim. You've assumed something, that's the premise of something, right? And then speculation, which is the intent or the narrative. So you kind of have to break your AI into different like pieces and say to it, like, these things are, what's the purpose of what we're doing? Like, how are we doing it? And then structure it and treat it like a system. Because if you don't set the instructions on projects on Claude, for example, as I said, this is the one I'm using, it's just going to hallucinate. It's going to go off that's where the AI slop comes in, because a lot of people that say AI is AI slop are not wrong, but they're just they're not using it correctly. Does that make sense? So they're right that it's AI slop because they haven't customized it. They haven't given it a personality. Basically, you're basically giving your AI personality. You're basically saying, how good can you customize AI? You can customize it as much as you want. You can state, do not come to me with information unless you've checked the chain first. You can say that, right? So straight away, you've eliminated majority of error. And these are the kind of things that you need to be looking at, because if I go to my main customization, which is basically general, here we go. So instructions for Claude. I'm just going to read this one out. So speak with precision, authority, and respect. Communicate like you're briefing a high IQ operator. Assume intelligence, ambition, and strategy. Always think forward, anticipate outcomes, map scenarios, and quantify probabilities. Maintain composure, tactical, analytical, encourage, never patronize, always seek to teach. Think like a technologist or investor hybrid, data-driven, probabilistic, use game theory for crypto, business, and life strategy, include outcomes and probabilities. Prioritize sovereignty, realism, and clarity over theory. These are the sort of things like deliver in a tiered format, right? Top line, decisive insight. Breakdown, logic and reasoning. Always give logic and reasoning for everything you present. Outcome, probabilities, timing, alpha move. Avoid certainty. Treat conversations as joint operations briefings, right? Keep it efficient, peer-to-peer, collaborative. For all topics, begin with fact grounding. If the subject involves current events, markets, health, law, or geopolitical claims, verify only using top tier sources before modeling or answering my questions. Clearly separate confirmed facts from inference and state confidence levels for probabilistic outcomes. So that's a prompt that I use, and I've shared that with coexistent Stephen, and I'm happy to share it with anybody else if anybody wants it. But yeah, it's massively cleaned up my AI, because now it only comes to me with those things, right? It only operates via that lens, and it doesn't hallucinate. It doesn't, and when it does hallucinate, it'll catch itself. So you'll see it on Claude. It'll say, the user, sometimes it will say the user has asked me to verify this, and then it will say it real time, and it will say I've come against this, but I've made an assumption here, I'm going to change that. And what it's doing is it's operating within those that criteria, and you can see it in real time. So it gives you a huge advantage. And again, this is probabilistic. We're talking about probabilities here, guys. That's a huge mindset shift in crypto. You have to think probabilistically. Do you know why? Because Richard Hart is thinking probabilistically. And if you want what Richard Hart has got, which is money, maybe not the Interpol case or the Europol case, but that comes part of the territory, right? If you want the money and you want the success and you want all that kind of stuff and you want to help your family and you want to become rich, you have to think like the people that got there and that are ahead of you. So he's thinking probabilistically, like billionaires, millionaires, billionaires, they're thinking probabilistically. Not always millionaires, but mostly billionaires. It's a different kind of level of think. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand the man, because if we can understand the man, we can predict where he's going and what's going to happen. And then we can position ourselves for that. It's like getting, 99 refers to it as getting like going to where the puck is moving, right? Like going to where the puck is going. Because if you can get ahead of things, you can get ahead, and you can think probabilistically, it'll also help you with your mental health, because crypto can be very intense, and sometimes it can be like, oh well, it's not happened on the 7th of July, so fuck it, my life's over. And it's like, yeah, but that's you're thinking like, that's kind of like you put so much expectations on it. You haven't used probabilistic thinking. You've looked at it from an absolute like level of thinking, like either it's on or it's off, right? Either I'm rich or I'm broke. There's no in between. Well, that's not really how life works. Life works probabilistically. What you should be thinking is, at some point between today and probably this date, I'm either going to be proven right or I'm going to be proven wrong. But it's okay, because at any point I can be proven right, and at any point I can learn that I've been wrong. And just enjoy that process and enjoy that journey, and use AI to create a probabilistic framework, because you can even change your mental framework as an investor. It's not just about PDI. You can attach this to the lens of the way you view the world, and you can really change it, and you can help cultivate your own identity. It's fucking mental. Like, the opportunity is crazy if you know what to do. And so yeah, that's just some thoughts that I've had about customization and personalization, because yeah, the world's your fucking oyster. The world is your oyster, and you have the massive opportunity. And what better than to be learning this here at the bottom? Do you know what I mean?
Really well said, Doc. I was thinking you were talking about you haven't used Google for a long time, and you have tailored your AI with how you want it to behave, just through experience and refining it. It always struck me that Google search would be quicker to present scams and problems, copycats, and all the traps and pitfalls we run into. But you can type something into Google, and it was the case at one time where your results would be ranked by some degree of popularity. It would infer that somehow what was popular was true or had more truth to it. I think this was addressed at some point, maybe in, I don't know, like 2007, 2008. They had to change some features, because popularity wasn't always the truth. And therein you have you run into data or truth problems. I don't know how it is today so much, but I do know that when I type in certain sites into Google, which I know are authentic, I just do a Google search of the site, and I'll see a fake site rank first. But I'm pretty sure with, even though I think someone was unlucky and recently typed in, I think they typed in Liberty Swap maybe into their chat GPT, and somehow, let's just say whatever AI they typed it into, they ended up getting scammed because they were given a link to a copycat website which drained them. But if you can tailor your AI to triple check every link that it refers you back to, then surely that's better than just going straight to Google and finding yourself tapping the first one or two sites that come up on the ranking. So like using AI for, being doubly, triple conscious security wise. Maybe I'm sure you do that. I'm sure you program or tell your AI to be extremely careful about what it sends back to you in terms of links, etc.
Osprey, what you've just said, yeah, 'cause I actually make apps and WordPress plugins using AI, and what you've just said is a great idea for an app or even a Chrome extension, which is they're probably out there already, but the way you've just described it is flipping perfect in the sense that something that checks to make sure that the websites you're visiting, and you could, turn the crypto or blockchain into a niche, a Chrome extension that double checks, triple checks, however it's going to check to make sure that websites you're visiting are actually legit. That's a great idea.
Well, you're the computer guy. I don't have time for it, but you should take the idea. If you can program and do things like that, you should run with it, and it would help people. It would definitely help people like myself and others, and all it would
Yeah,
help us all.
yeah. I might, make mention of that in the group at some stage. Maybe it could
Yeah.
be something that we could work on collectively.
Maybe, yeah. I think like the more we do this stuff, the more we do this stuff, the better we educate each other at the same time. Everyone's at a different stage of the journey, but what I do see, like experience wise, but what I do see is that anyone can get scammed at any time, and it's the little things that get us. The small things catch you by the heel. Um, Whatever we can do to make that less of an issue, the better.
Good thinking.
I felt
I know
dreadfully sorry for that guy that got scammed. It was just the worst, because he really was, everything, all his intentions were the best, for himself and his future, and it was just wicked. It was wicked what took place, all because, a scam link was on Google or whatever search engine. I'm not really sure how it works. I have a rough idea, but the AI just it picked up on the scam link instead of the right one. It's such a shame. Avoidable, but shame.
At least with Liberty Swap's new wallet, it's kind of whitelisted particular addresses. I don't know if they've released their new version yet, but I know their new wallet kind of sifts and filters through and kind of flags illegitimate websites, which is good. Hey guys, by the way, I thought I'd just cut in here.
what's good, Mike?
How are you? I was also thinking about the AIs. I mean, it's a good prompt to have, but I think the real value comes from building an AI that kind of points to the data and training that you've collected. Because I use Claude Code and kind of, I don't know if I've kind of cut in about halfway maybe. So let me know if I'm kind of repeating already what has been said. But with Claude Code, you can point it to like training data that you've developed, like markdown files. And I've used, years of kind of research data that I've kind of saved on my computer, and Claude can access that data. So it kind of, if I type in 5996 wallet via dong and ask if it's connected to another address, it'll point to those data sources that I've historically created, and that it has access to, and kind of connect dots that way. At least then it's not kind of reinventing the wheel. It kind of can access the already researched data, and I think that's where the real value comes from these AI bots, is almost building on its training data over time and slowly compounding information, so it's kind of not starting from scratch. But I guess Claude Code, it does take some time to learn. But I really encourage everyone to get involved with Claude Code, because if you don't use it for blockchain, you'll be using it for work. Will be that's the first stuff that will replace us. Is Claude Code is amazing. So I highly recommend it.
As you've been building PDI.guide, Michael, is there anything like your experience, like you've done something more experience than I do, but is there anything that stood out to you that was new, something new that took you by surprise since your advent of learning about AI, you know, and actually building these sites, and maybe there's something you hadn't considered yet? Because like AI has changed massively in a very short space of time. I wonder, is there anything that stood out to you during that process?
I think it was probably the idea of, 'cause I feel like the Claude Code and its capability in referencing files on your computer, that's kind of a more of a recent thing or release that at least I was familiar with. So I think that aspect or that feature or that kind of technique was probably the biggest kind of pivotal moment when developing the research documents and kind of leveraging AI to its best of its capability, really. I think that was kind of it. Otherwise, developing the website itself using Lovable, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of nothing too new. But it was that Claude Code, yeah, file access. And it kind of sounds scary, file access, but it's actually really, really useful.
It's a superb site. It's just brilliant. I think it's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I still need to update it, I must say. Because there's been so much more new information that's been found. I mean, we can see 5996 doing stuff now.
Yeah, what's going on today, Michael? Can I just cover that as well? Because I saw the Autoscan link, but I didn't click on it because I didn't want to take the screen, because I'm screen sharing. I didn't want to make it all confusing for anyone
No,
streaming.
fair. I don't want to say anything too soon because I don't really want to make assumptions, because I'm still on my phone as well. And
Yeah.
Autoscan sucks to look at on your phone. But it appears to be a mint by it. Basically, it's 5996's helper contract, which is just basically a machine that 5996 has created to run on their behalf. That's my understanding, and it's been able to retrieve PDI out of a vault, it seems. So, and it's labeled as a mint, but I don't want to scare anyone yet. So let me confirm that. But it's not a lot of PDI. It was only 400,000. But it does appear that it's the same contract, same helper contract that was used prior to the ESM back in 2025. So he's back at it at old Viet Dong. But we also see him cleaning up vaults using his other address, the 1967 address. They're kind of working in tandem, those two. I reckon there's more than one person behind these, but a smaller cluster. We'll see.
Varian is in, but he's going to be joining us in an hour, I believe.
Who's that?
He has. We were just going to go through his site as well. The HTML code that he
Awesome.
posted into chat.
Was that did you say Bavarian?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's there's a lot more layman's terms from him, which is nice. You know, he can do the code side, but he's good at he's just good at speaking in layman's terms.
He's very
as well.
articulate. He has a very good understanding, which helps. yeah, I'd like to get more clarity around what Viet Dong is doing at the moment. It's kind of interesting because they're doing these vault cleaning, I guess. But it sounds like they're doing it again, a year later. Like, why? Why are they still, like, why now? I haven't seen something like this for many, 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 many months by 5996. So it'd be interesting to get some more clarity around it.
Well, this is the big question, Mike, right? So, like, why is he, if he's extracting, why is he also helping?
Well, exactly. Why is he
That's
deploying reserve protocol contracts on the chain? Why is he,
here's
deploying all this
where,
infrastructure?
dude, totally. And this is the question, right? And this is why, like, if you're right in the middle, yeah, if you're bang in the middle of undecided of whether you think PDAI is a scam or not, or it's the biggest opportunity to get to $1 and you're going to be richer than your wildest dreams, right? If because it's a pendulum, right? If you're either in one side of it or the other, essentially, because people often sort of oscillate between the two. But my argument is, if you're in the middle, just consider that, just that alone. That is the only thing you need to know, really, because it's lopsided in favor of the bullish case than it is the bearish case. What the haters and the negatives can't handle and they can't beat is that matter of fact. If it is extraction, why is he also helping the chain? And this is the question, right? People could say, oh yeah, but it's all kind
A
of like
reload
he's
scam.
yeah, it's a reload scan. It's a reload scan. It's like, yeah, but he's using contracts that aren't even connected to PDAI as well.
Well, that's
Like
right.
he's
There's the idea of him being he's taken like taken position as a validator uh, on the new, that Arbitrum layer 2 that he's now has admin rights over, which is also very interesting and strange, which we can't see into, which is
yeah.
also strange. Yeah, I mean,
It's also the fact that if you go back, like the permission was granted to him, so he was given permission to do all this by like what we can assume is the pioneers, Bretap, Richard, etc., etc. Like the
it's
original
all
airdrop wallets, the
permissionless.
596.
Oh,
It's
I
all
see.
like,
You're thinking of the PComp takeover. That was
yeah,
a bit funny. That was a permissionless takeover, but only for those that knew it was available. It's almost like I kind of like using this way of putting it. It's like having the keys to a Lamborghini, but you need to know where the keys are if they were hidden. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That was kind of how that takeover occurred. And in tandem, I think this is such a strong point for me anyway. This is kind of what really hits home for me, is that on that occasion, when that takeover happened, all the fear was, everyone was freaking out. Giga was making posts, at that moment, Richard created a meme, credited himself, at Richard Hart at the bottom right of this GIF or of this JPEG meme, basically indirectly implying it was him, because it was a meme regarding I am the one who knocks on what was the show about this show anyway, and the same
Breaking
occurrence
Bad.
happened. Thank you, that one. And the same occurrence happened during the Maker takeover by ESM. He was saying I'm extracting, and then he credited himself on the bottom right of the image, posted that image at the same time during the peak fear of that scenario. And during both those occasions, call me insane, but during both those occasions, when two of the largest protocols on his chain were getting exploited, he was making memes. Only on those two occasions, crediting himself within those memes, and they're the only two memes that live on his account to this day. Happen to be on the on the occasions when those two protocols were taken over. So that's the largest conviction to me. That's so it's just like you're preaching to the converted as I am now, but it's so clear to me. I mean, is he retarded? That's the other thing. It's like, do you think Richard is retarded? No. Well, then there's a larger plan at play here. Do you think he's retarded? Yes. Then sell and leave.
Yeah. Yeah, sell and leave. Yeah, you just get on with your life. Find another ecosystem. Find another way to fix your problems. Like
get on Tron, get on the stable coins that are actually $1 with no
yeah, and
blockchain
just
yet.
get invalidated.
Sure, that's right.
Just go and you know, sell your soul to another devil, so to speak, on blockchain. Because you're it's like the lesser evil, right? It's the lesser evil because either way you're part of the system. Either way, you got to try and play games. Either way, you've got to try and accumulate wealth and play the game and keep the money and multiply the money and then keep it and know how to hold on to it and all that. Like you're going to face the same problems. Like the only thing that you're changing by changing the ecosystem or quitting crypto and altogether is you're going to have to replace it with a new vehicle. You've got to find a new vehicle, a new person to believe in, a new investor, right? People who were investing in Apple were investing in Steve Jobs. So you've got to find a new founder. You've got to find someone new that you think their business or their company is gonna explode, and you're gonna make an ROI of 1000x or whatever it is that you're after. You've got to replace that.
Exactly, and it takes years and years. Well, in most cases, years and years of research, trying to find basically hidden value where it hasn't been realized yet. Finding value that people haven't found yet, getting in early. That's what this is, really, isn't it? So
Yeah,
and it takes years and years of research, and it's very difficult to do.
this is
to
it.
finding something like that,
It's like this last market, you know. This last market is like, if you look at it like you're betting on the fastest horse, right? You're at your horse at the horse racing. You're making a bet. You want to win. You want to make some money. Like that's really what investing is. You're trying to find the best horse that you can bet on. And last cycle, well, this cycle, we'll call it this cycle because it's kind of, although it's over, it's still kind of like we're still in the after effects of like 2020. 3 to 2025, shall we say. We're in kind of like the end of that cycle where we begin the new one. Like this cycle that's just ended, like you could argue it was a false start, right? You could argue that the gun went off but then it got cancelled, or like we didn't get the chance to see Richard come out the gate like steaming, right? Because
the most disappointing quite boring that we've had.
The event got called off and we've got to sit tight and wait for the next one. Like we could come back next year, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's good to have it. Yeah, it's difficult to do with consumer sentiment at all-time lows. The lowest it's been since data was released. ISM also at extreme lows. It's a real shame, truly. But I'm hoping that it kind of retraces just as much as kind of how disappointing it's been, how much depression there is. I hope it's equally translated towards the upside, right?
Totally.
Equal. What's the phrase? Equal reaction.
Equal opposite reaction. Yeah.
Thank you. That one.
That's what I was saying, dude, about Richard Hart. Like, you know, it's kind of, or it's almost poetic. You know, you can't really have the best performing coin of last cycle. The cycle before last, and then do really well this cycle, right? It just feels like the universe is not going to let you get away with it. Surely.
Everything's looking just way too inconsistent. As I said, Hex, pristine product in terms of functionality, hiring the best lawyers in the space, those of which Elon and Trump used. Do you know what I mean? And then seeing protocols like this get taken over by Vietnamese children.
Yeah,
it's not consistent with the Richard Hart that we know.
No, and I mean, and it's not even just philosophical. I mean, it's just mathematical. Like you can't, what goes up must come down. Like it's just a law of the universe. Like you cannot, you cannot have a 10,000x and not fall, a 9,900x. You're just not gonna. It's not gonna happen. Like air resistance is real, gravity is real. Like you cannot. It has to happen in markets. You can't get the bull without the bear. You can't get the bear without the bull. Like it's just the reality of the laws of the universe, and that transpires into markets with numbers.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, because how we're talking about, I forget, was it Somi who was talking about his recent video, he was talking about, as if when it comes to pegging, the bearish version of that is like, why would he give money away like that for free? But we saw him do that with Hex. And let me explain. When Hex was incepted, prior to that, there was the idea of that meme, where the ETH go, where the ETH go.
Yeah.
What was the process called when basically everyone gave up ETH, he himself gave up ETH, and then he basically just kept buying it up. He kept buying up the Hex chart to achieve the 10,000x, leaving everyone in huge profits. But because he pushed the price up so high solely, we saw an equal and opposite reaction down on the other side, right? Because it was such an artificial price increase, because he gave away that value to all these investors that are, selling on his head now and calling him an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the reason I'm saying that is like, yeah, I think the fact that he put so much in with that extra ETH that he had, I think we're paying the price literally as we speak.
Literally,
Mm.
yeah. It's just a hangover after the great night out. You can't get away
Well,
from it.
yeah, that's true. It's kind of like artificial euphoria, isn't it? Really,
It
in
can
some
be viewed
regards.
as buying followers, though.
Yeah, it was. There was definitely a plan amongst it. I mean, he definitely won his cult following from it.
I think, yeah, I think it was definitely it was definitely not a nefarious. It was kind of intent. I think it was very magnanimous. He did it to kind of enrich those who believed in him at the beginning, but
Yeah,
then it kind of indirectly resulted in what we're seeing here. And then because he developed 4 other tokens, we saw the value that was once just in one token, Hex. We saw it kind of split into 4. And then that's what's also making this ecosystem look down further than what it really is, because the value that was once stored just in Hex has kind of was divided amongst his extra 4 tokens, 5 now with ProveX. So I think that hasn't helped with how things are looking. I mean, if it'd be nice to add up the market cap of his current ecosystem and compare that to see what that would look like if it was just in Hex, to see how much we're actually down. But because no one really, anyone new knows about us, right? Since last bull. So
yeah. Which
which
is exactly, that's our advantage, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's so true. I think exactly. You're talking about the equal opposite reaction. I think that kind of edge that we have being in this ecosystem, we know why the charts are kind of looking so low at the moment, because of the tokens he's produced and the blockchain that he's produced, dividing the value across each of those tokens. So it's been a long
Such a good
ride.
point. Yeah, big time, big time. I mean, yeah, I mean, you don't really want to be, we all got in at, a lot of us got in at sack level, and you get a couple of $1 billion raises. You don't really want to be competing with the next man. Like you kind of want to be in a position where we do get sold off 95%. And that mean, put simply, another way, 95% of people have quit. It's not,
Well,
it's not
that's
like
right.
it's not that exact arbitrage number, because obviously we have some whales and stuff that still have bags, but most generally 95% of your competition is gone. So you can look at it that way. You can look at it as like and when the group becomes small enough, we almost become this like super organism, like we're all kind of where obviously you get your gigas and your panoses and your creaths and all that kind of kind of stuff, you know, where we have a bit of banter and some of us don't like other people and blah 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 blah. But that's minor. That's minor. That's like, you know, that's like, you know, Baz and Tiger level shit, right? Do you know what I mean? It's not big. It's kind of, it's just a bit of fun, right? But we generally, anybody who's left here, is we've almost become like this super organism, like the first cell in the ecosystem of the
Yeah.
organism that's going to kind of, we're going to be selling to the next guy, right? But preferably at the top, because, you know, we're the first movers now, because 95% of our competition have gone. So our competition is the next 95% that comes back, which aren't going to be any of the people that have already left. Some people are going to laggard. You know, you get your 10% or your 20% of the original OG guys, because they've still got bags and they think, oh yeah, he's come back. Oh fucking hell, I made some money. I do. I'll ape a bit more. But they're over in ETH and Solana, or they're doing real estate deals in real life, or they're with their families or whatever. Like, so much shit has happened in the last 5 years. They could be anywhere doing different things. And so the new guys are the people that are coming in that we don't know, who don't know Richard Hart. They don't know the history. They don't know the stories. And that, again, like you said, Mike, is kind of, you know, that's kind of what we've got to look forward to, because that is our advantage. So, you know.
Yeah, it's so true. We're so much smaller now that the price drops so much easier to move up as well, right? Which is another kind of value prop.
Hello, everyone. Hi, sorry.
G'day.
I just want to add, in terms of competitors and so forth, we included the people who know about Hex and Richard Hart, but who hate it and are sidelined because they hate Richard Hart, and then they'll come in purely because of green candles. I think there are another cohort of people which might be relevant here. And also,
So
I
true.
think, I think with Metcalfe's law, like basically, my understanding of it is your price is basically the square of your price multiplies basically the square of the number of people that come in. So if you want your price to go 100x, you need 10x as many people to come in. So essentially what happens is if the number of people in the network goes from 10 to 100, then your price will go up by 100x, or it
Yes.
would be 10 to 110. Yeah, well, technically, but that would technically mean that for the 10 people to get the 100x, they have to dump on the 90 or 100 people that come in, which works where the smaller you are, the easier it is to get your 10 times as many people. Like 10 times 10,000 is a lot easier to get than 10 times 50,000 or 10 times 100,000. So I suppose, and I mean, it's a fancy way of leading to the same conclusion. But if the lower the price goes and the lower the numbers are, and plus if you have the ability to DCA or lump sum invest at those low levels, then the gain is more probability. There's a high probability to get your 100x simply because it's easier to times 10 the number of people when you have a low base than when you already have a lot of people there already. So
Yes.
yeah, I think that's what you're talking about. That's how I understand it. Correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong, but
bro.
that's just me
Yes,
trying to
Tanner.
encapsulate it.
Totally, dude. Totally. And you're getting me bullish. I'm bullish. And it's
That
so
is weird.
true. I mean, it's so true, dude. It's so true. I mean, it's so exciting, because this is the game, right? This is the opportunity. Because if you said it yourself, right? I think originally, if I remember correctly, my math was about 200,000 people. I think it was about 200,000 active wallets in the beginning. And I think we're down to now somewhere between 5 and 15,000. So there's your 90 to 95% of user base down, right? So now you're measuring from 10 to 15,000 to 150 to 200,000, right? Which is what you're talking about. That's your 10x to your active users, which 100x is the price. So we are reflective of the, like you say, like users and price can be looked at similarly, in the sense of, if we're both down 90 to 95%, you now are looking for the next 95% to come in. And that's weathering the storm, right? That's like you bolting down into the underground and just waiting for the storm to pass while everybody's getting fucking thrown out the ecosystem, or they've already left. You're battling down the hatches and just fucking locking in and saying, I ain't going nowhere. This is the holy land, right? I'm staying here. Because I know where people are going to be coming later. Like, you're anticipating the future. So very exciting.
Yeah. And I have one related question which extends on that, which if anyone's got an opinion about it, would be helpful. So so basically, historically with crypto, what happens is, as coins get older, the network effects tend to decay, etc., and mostly people historically have prepared to engage in shiny new object syndrome. Like, if it's a new coin, it's more likely to pump than an old coin because it's new, etc. And then I think Somi said something along the lines of, given that the existence of pump fund, this may not be the case anymore, because instead of associating new coins with new opportunity, people will think new coins as another opportunity to get right. So I'm just thinking, like, I don't know what the sort of the sentiment is in this group, or what it is, but do you think that Hex might actually have more, or PDAI or whatever Richard Heart ecosystem coins might actually have a better than expected second cycle effect, because people are like, instead of thinking, I'm going to buy the next bonk or the next SHIB, etc., at least I know with the Richard Heart coins that they're not going to rug, I mean, obviously the price went down, but, they're not going to no one's going to like dump 99% of the supply on you in 3 minutes or something. Like, would that in itself be now considered as a factor for a better comeback, because people are now associating old coins as trusted versus new coin more than they associate new coins as new opportunity? I'm just trying to test what people's thoughts are on that one, on that sort of school of thought.
May I answer
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah, go for it, right?
My answer is going to be around the house a bit, but it's something I've been thinking about, listening to Tanner's last question, the question beforehand, and a few of his observations about our ability to basically rocket based on ratios. Okay, I think that's what he was getting at essentially. You answered him very well too. I looked at X the other day, and I saw Liberty Swap. I think it was Liberty Swap who posted. There's a bit of outreach about how to improve pump tires, and some sort of a little bit of insight as to how it's perhaps not working out the way they imagined. And they asked the community, how would you change it? And there's a lot of interesting answers. But I think Tanner may have hit the nail on the head here, because people liked tried and tested. And I think people do come back to it. And one huge factor in this, you look at these pump tires or pump.fun sort of platforms, the communities aren't really there. Everything's so fleeting, and it really is true PvP. It seems here in these tried and tested communities, and I would absolutely say DAI is a tried and tested community at this stage. We're in a huge bear market on a chain that has been subject to SEC. Well, that case, that I think to have that case in a bear market was just unbelievable, and the fact that we've seemed to have survived it, and here we are, is testament to. It's really testament to community as well. So I was looking at some stats the other day, and looking at where I think it was like 90 days, basically 90 days of price performance. And it's difficult. Like you shouldn't be, I'm not trying to compare DAI to cores, and that I said it then, I said that like there's no competition here. I'm just saying, look at where the energy is. And it's that tried and tested energy community. Like DAI over 90 days, like DAI was up sort of 60%, while cores are down sort of anywhere between 10 to 25%, whatever the stat was. I think ProveX was down 40 something percent over the same time period. DAI is just up, up, up. It looks the strongest, and I think a lot of that is because the community is the strongest. And it occurs to me also that we have community members like yourself, Tenor, like Michael, like Doc, like Bavarian, like Nine Iron. Sorry if I'm missing anyone out, but I think a lot of you are in part responsible for this community growing stronger because your research is great. And the network effect of that is that other people who may not understand it so well see this data and just build upon it with their own their visual takes, their memes, their jokes. Everyone, it seems to me, everyone is talking about DAI. That's the impression I get. I think the footprint is huge, and I think a lot of you guys doing the research are very much responsible. You're like the origin point of that. And it's a lot of things that are, you can, if you take the time, if you take that couple of weeks, and I mean it, a couple of weeks, you take that time and you look at this research and you verify it for yourself, you feel a lot better about things. It alleviates a lot of stress. I just think I think the bottom line, the quick turnaround communities are extremely short-lived. The bonds aren't there. That strength and that communication isn't there. When people are together, like on a VC like this, we're all talking to each other. We're encouraging one another. We're talking about the good things and the bad things, but we're connecting. And that is a hallmark of tried and tested communities. And I would really like to think that next 95% of people are going to see that. And I think it's very, very attractive. In a human sense, it's a very, very attractive thing. People are attracted to people. People go where other people go. And especially when they have a strong community, one that they can tap into and engage with. And I think we're doing a tremendous job. I really do.
Well, I guess the P DAI to PLS ratio going up only for the last year or so is probably it speaks for itself.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because the beauty is the numbers don't lie, because they tell you where the market's headed. It tells you also where the market is. It can kind of tell you about market share and stuff. And Osprey, you made such a good point about community, because I mean, look at something like the World Cup right now. I mean, the World Cup is absolutely taking over, like in terms of mind share, and it's bringing millions and millions and millions of, well, billions really, because people are literally billions of people on the planet, and everybody's kind of, even if they're not actively going to games or watching it on TV, they're talking to somebody or hearing about it, or it's in the air at the moment, like it's in the mind share. And that's the power of it, the power of people, because like you said about people wanting to go where other people are, people don't really want to miss out. We're tribal animals, right? We want to be part of the most exciting thing. We want to go to the most exciting parties and be around the most exciting experiences and part of the most exciting teams. That's why sports is so popular, because it's about teams and people coming together, and different cultures, different walks of life coming together and uniting together as one unit. So it's kind of like people love to be around people. I love that you said that, Osprey. It's such a good way to articulate it.
And it's product market fit. I know I've said that a few times before, but community is central to product market fit. I think it's really one of the Yeah, it is. It's one of the central components. If you want something to be successful, to have a community that's, especially one that's been refined over time, and I surely think we have been. To have that is it's a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, Tanner, you asked about the foundation, and Osprey pretty much answered it. My only take on that, really, and the only way I view it is that, like, you know, if you can't kill a community after 99% down, etc., an SEC case going after its founder, Interpol going after its founder, Europol going after its founder, and they still can't catch him, try and fraudulently hurt him, how do you beat us? Like, I can't see it. I don't know. I don't know how you answer that question. Like, how do you beat us? You can't beat us. Like, I mean it when I say, like, you can't beat us because we're not quitting. We don't quit. Like, it's we're a different kind of, you become a different kind of animal when you come down 99%. When you watch your SAC funds of 200K drop to like 10 grand or 20 grand, it changes you. Like, it changes you, but not in a bad way. Like, of course you can quit and it'll expose you to your own weakness. Like, you might say, oh, fuck this shit, I'm out. But it also, for most of people, and especially the people on this call, it exposes you to your ability to, like, pull through, like your resiliency. Your resilience just, like, fucking rockets. You're like, okay, so I can't lose. Okay, so I'm down 185 grand and I'm still here. And what? Like, it's just different. We're just built different. And, like, if you're thinking, and then if you go one step further, which is just like mega level, and you're like, not only that, I'm putting another 15 grand in. Like, you're a different animal. You're just different. You're different. And it's those are the kinds of people that weather the storm and actually win. Like, you have to go through this level of defeat. You have to go through these tests, because it's not just like psychological. It's being able to lose that kind of level of money and still, look your wife in the eye and still feel good about yourself. It's still being able to drag your ass to a job that you don't want to be doing, but you're going, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. This is where I am. I have to keep going forward. I have to keep moving forward. And not only that, I'm going to double down on my convictions, because what else is there? Like, where else am I going to go? Like, what else am I going to do? And not only that, if I've come this far, I might as well see it through. I mean, people don't like it when they say send the fucking thing to zero, but send it to zero. And what they mean by that is, if it's going to fail, let it fail. But I don't believe for 1 second that that's where we are. Like, it's just a good mental model to just look at the two extremes, right? Like, just as a point of reference. Like, if you ever think about quitting, just go, well, yeah, where are you going to go and what you're going to do? That's what it all comes back down to. But really, if you believe, and I believe we all are believers here, you've got to double down. Like, and even if you're not doubling down, it's okay. If you're down, like I said in the example of 200K, if you're down to 15K, just fucking strap in. Just strap in and put your seatbelt on and just ride it out and load up your AI models and enjoy the fun and enjoy the journey and love the process. You don't have to be DCAing at this zone, but if you are, fucking hell, you're going to be in such a nice position when the market turns around. You're going to be absolutely balling, because you're the next 200K. Also, for the people that didn't lose 200K, you're not down 185K. Maybe you're down less. Maybe you're down more. Like, maybe you're not down really at all. Maybe you came in a little bit later. You've got fucking opportunity in front of you, because you're going to be the next whale. You're the guy sacking at 200K that's in the future. You like yours. That's what you're pulling out on the other side. So you've got to kind of like, but the only way you can do that is if you reset psychologically. You have to reset. You have to say, okay, I lost 185K. Cool. Like, what's next? Okay, if I have to pay, like, imagine this, right? Imagine losing 185K is the tax that you pay on the way to 1.5 million. You'd say, and somebody said, oh yeah, but all the pain is up front. You know what I mean? Like some cosmic force said to you, or in hindsight, you looked at yourself in 5 years' time or 10 years from now, you look back and said, well, the price is that I had to pay 185 grand on the way in, but I got 1.5 on the way out. You'd fucking take that deal 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. Like, you know, I just think it's, if you're still here, you built different and you're a believer and you're going to win, because we're down 95% and our competition, 95% of the competition are gone. And that's a good thing, because when they come back, you've got exit liquidity. You know when like, when you do your first cycle, right? You do your first cycle in crypto and you learn a little bit and you download the app. For me, it was crypto.com, and you download the app and you're like buying on there and you're like, oh, this is kind of fun, 20 quid into this one. And oh, I like the name of that one, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Sometimes you'd buy, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like in the early days when you'd buy crypto and you were a complete amateur and you were a noob, and you would just buy something and you'd buy something like Tron or XRP or something. Oh, I like the sound of that. That sounds cool. And you put $10 in it. Just an example, just to give you an example, right? And then 2 minutes later, you refreshed it because you're new to it, right? And you just refresh and refresh, and you're like down to like $9.80, right? And you're like, fucking hell, I've lost 20p. What's going on? What's going on? Like, you know what I mean? You're new, right? You're new. You're like, oh, 20p. Oh, it's like, fuck it. It's only 20p. It'll go back up. And then it goes up to $10.20, right? And you're like, fucking hell, okay, blah, 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 blah. Well, you got to realize, right? That 20p that you lost was someone like you, and I'm speaking to you who's listening right now, exiting your $1.5 million at the top of the market in the future. That 20 pence dropping on your $10 when you bought it, when you first started, because those are the kind of people that are going to be getting in at the euphoria of this next cycle. That drop in 20 pence is your 200 grand. That's you exiting the ecosystem and making a little dent that then gets bought back up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So don't feel bad about this whole game of numbers and all that kind of shit. And a lot of people are past it anyway. Like they feel, this whole exit liquidity thing, that can kind of trigger people or make people feel like, oh, I'm just dumping on the next guy, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but you're only taking 20p from him. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying because you're buying at the bottom here. So when you get to your 200k, the people that are coming in after you at that point are losing 20p. So like, but most of the time you don't get the opportunity to buy at the bottom. Usually you're the guy that's buying at the top and losing your 20p and then losing, dropping a $5 or whatever, because you don't know about euphoria and you don't know about cycles. So when the pendulum swings back against you, you lose $20 or you lose your $10 down to 50 cents or whatever, and you just think, fuck it. Because you can't even buy a coffee with that, so you don't care. Do you understand my point? So that's the game. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. The only things I would add is that like if your say 1K turns into $30, there's really no point in dumping for 30, because 30 is so close to zero, you might as well hold it, because there's a chance that, because the thing is, if you hold, there's a chance that it might go to zero and you lose all your money. You actually lose all your money. But if you dump at $30, you're guaranteed to lose $970. So you might as well, because it's so low, you might as well just hold, because your upside payoff for dumping is so minute compared to holding that you might as well just hold on it. And the other thing is, like, if your $1,000 went down to 30 and then you put in another $1,000 and then it doubles, you're not down minus 99.7% anymore. You're down like 50% because you just put in at such a low price that mathematically, if the price sneezes, you're actually not down by original bit, but you actually rocket back up because your average is so cut in half because of your DCA at the bottom. And I guess in terms of mindset, I would say that when people say, how do you hold and all that stuff, my my joke answer is, I'm not smarter or I'm not smarter than any of you guys. The only thing that I do perhaps better is my willingness to endure pain, basically, and pass through fear. That's pretty much it. That's the only advantage I have over anyone is I'm willing to endure more pain and break through more fear than your average human being. So I guess that's sort of, that's how I at least I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Tanner, and that's
exactly true.
it's so true because Tenor, also you got to remember in that example you gave about $1,000 and it drops down to 30, you put another 1,000 in, and then it goes up, it goes up to 3K. You're up 1K. Like you're up. But I think what people can't, do you know what I mean? Like what that's first principles. Like what people fail to realize is even in the example of that, it's very important. That's just another great point. Like, numbers on screen are not real, right? They're not real until they actually hit your bank. So like sometimes we're thinking, oh fucking hell, I lost 185K. But in reality, it's like, yeah, psychologically you did, but you didn't take the money anyway. So like you're setting the expectations, right? So like if you started with 10K and you ran it up to 200K and then you sacked and you're back down to 10K, well, you haven't lost any money. You've just lost a bit of time, haven't you? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? Like, it really does depend on how you frame it. Like, if you've taken profit from crypto and actually paid a bit of rent or paid a bit of bills or paid for this and paid for that, and you're still in the game and you've kind of still at the amount that you put in, well, you're still up. You're still winning. You've just got to reframe it. That's all. You've just got to reframe it and say, okay, that's one example, which is great, right? You start with a bit of money, you build it all the way up. I've got friends who are at like 1.5 million at the top of last Euphoria, and they're still here. They're down at like 200. They've got like 200K left in their bag or whatever, and but they were at 1.5, but they're still fucking here because they can psychologically reset. They can say, well, yeah, I had 1.5, but I only started with 50, and I ran it all the way up to 1.5. But it was never my money because I only actually put 50K of my money in. And money isn't real anyway. It's just a medium of exchange, and I can get new money. Here's another thing people aren't talking about, right? Because I was just going to say, Tanner, like if you're putting $1,000 in, right, you get $1,000 every month anyway. So you're not even in a situation to complain because you can just get another $1,000 next month. Like in reality, you just go out and get more money. Like, welcome to the game of life. It doesn't stop until you win.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say when you say or anyone says my $1,000 became 30. I mean, technically speaking, you haven't actually lost 970 because you haven't actually cashed out your 30 yet. In the same way as you can say that, let's say your $1,000 went up to 10,000 and you round tripped it back to 1,000, you cannot say that I earned $9,000 in profit because you never actually cashed out. But
exactly.
Then if you look at the other way, you can also say that if my $1,000 went down to 30, you can't say that you lost 970 because you haven't sold yet. And what happens if it goes back up to 2,000 or something, if it goes from $30 to $2,000 and then you cash out, then you actually say at the end of the day, well, I actually got $1,000 profit out of it, but I happen to have a balance of $30 along the way. So I don't even think of it in terms of if my portfolio went down from 1,000 to 30, which it actually did in April 2025 for PDI, by the way. That's actually a fact. You haven't actually lost any money, so we didn't actually lose.
Yeah.
It's just that the thing on the deck screener said that my balance is now $30. That's actually what it is, really.
This is the game, bro. This is the game. This is right here is the most exciting part of the whole subject for me is the psychology, because it's the lies we tell ourselves, right? Like we call it the lies we tell ourselves, because every day to some format we are to some degree lying to ourselves about something or in some way. Now it's not a bad thing, it's just human nature. Like if you have a dream and you want that to happen in your life, to some degree you have to lie to yourself because you have to imagine it. Like the same way that you tell yourself, oh, well, I'm kind of, some people call it copium. Some people call it hopium. Like it's all the same thing. It's just like, what are the lies you're telling yourself every day? Like, are you happy? No. Okay, well, just tell yourself you're happy until you become happy, and then it becomes real. It's like the self-reinforcing loop. Like, what are you telling yourself? But it's not really lies. Like, we use the word lies, but it's just like, how are you framing the world? Like, how are you viewing the world and your experience in crypto? Because how you frame it sets the narrative. Because right? Do you believe the narrative that you're telling yourself? Because you're telling yourself a narrative, and just make sure it's a good place to live, right? Make sure that you're getting enough water, and you're going for your walks, and you're enjoying the sun, and you're spending time with friends, and you're socialized, and all the basics that keep you in the game, because it's a game at the end of the day. You have to remember, getting rich is a game. It's a game. Like, you can choose to play it, and you have to learn the rules, and you play within the rules. And if you violate the rules, the game violates you. Like, everybody knows when you're up, you should take profit, right? That's part of the game. If you violate the rule violates you. Like, that's it. But the game, what I'm trying to say is, at any point you can exit the game, but you can also change the game. You can change the rules of the game, right? If you're learning AI, if you're spending time, if you're staying connected with the community, which is exactly what Osprey's designed this for, right? This VC, for us to connect. You're staying in the game, right? And you're getting around like-minded people who equally want to play the game and want to play it well and want to win, right? And to win the game is on your terms. That's the other beautiful thing. For you, it might be 100K. For someone else, it might be $1 million, right? For someone else, it might be somewhere in the middle. Like, there's loads of different ways to play the game, and you set the rules in your own life of how you want to play the game, because that's the beauty of life. You've got freedom, right? You've got choice. You've got free will. You can choose to decide the rules of your own game, and that's the beauty of crypto, because crypto can accelerate those, that prize, that kind of prize. But you have to respect the rules of crypto. You have to respect the rules of the game. Getting rich is a game, and crypto is a game, and everything is. That's why we're playing it, right? That's why we're here, because we understand that it's a game. We've got to play it, and we've got to win. But don't let your psychology talk you out of it, or talk you kind of talk you down, or talk you out of the game, or make you quit, right? Because your own mind can play tricks on you. You don't want to be the guy that fumbles the bag and sells your PDI and then it pegs. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be the guy that is either wrong or wins. You don't want to be the guy that's not playing. That's really what it comes down to. Like, it's like, play the game. If you want to be exposure in an ecosystem, cool. Like, on yourself, think it through, like, simulate different scenarios. Okay, if PDI pegs and I've got $1 million, is that going to be enough for me and my? Or are you trying to shoot for a higher? Okay, we'll die. These are the sort of situations, especially when we're like, I want to say early in the game, but in some fact, if we get a massive market in the next 12 months, I really believe people. We're kind of around, because how are we going to see PulseChain and PulseX and PruveX, BTC? How long are we going to see these prices for? Because every month that you're not buying, I'm just giving an example. I'm not trying to encourage people to buy, but I'm saying, if you feel like you're underweight, we're definitely all underwater, but underweight in terms of moving forward. Like, every month that you're not buying, you are kind of shitting on yourself because of opportunity cost. Because when the price starts to run and you get your first 10x, you've been priced out. There is such a thing as being priced out, right? Because if you can get $1 million for, a million PDI for X amount right now, at 10x, it's going to take you 10 times the amount. So if you can get $1 million on 1 month's wages, when we're at 10x, you're going to feel good, because you're going to feel relief, like, oh, fucking hell, we're up. But if you're not cashing out and you are waiting for $1, you now need to put 10 months in to get what you can get today. So, like, you have to think about these things before they happen. And that's why being in the market right now is an absolute blessing. Like I've just taken on a second job because I'm like, let's fucking do this. Let's go again.
Yeah.
I am ready. 8, 12 months, 18 months. Fuck it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, the only thing I would add is that, like, for those people whose bags are full, like me, for example, I've overinvested by a lot. You know the guy, the dev guy. Yeah. I think also it's also a good idea to have savings as well, because the savings are not there because like I always fall into trap of, I should put more in, but I think it might also be a good idea to have some savings on the side, because the savings are there to protect you from being forced to capitulate your bags before the time is right. So like if having the savings there means that you don't have to sell your crypto at minus 90% to pay an unexpected expense, then the savings are actually doing the job as well as the actual investment in the crypto itself. So I think obviously everyone's got their own sort of ratio of savings to investment and stuff, but I think I think maybe everyone should think about, when they have their spare money, they should think, X% in reserve cash, survival cash, and X% in the actual DCA. That's probably the only thing I would add to that.
Yeah, big time, mate. That's such a valid point. I mean, even if let's say you've got $1,000, let's say you do overtime at work or whatever, your regular month or whatever, you've got $1,000 available, like surplus cash, right? Good. That's great, by the way. That's a really great position to be in. If you're in that position, you're doing really well. You might want to just split it right down the middle and do 500 into defensive sort of savings, like you say, like keep it in the account and just give you that peace of mind. Because sometimes, again, we talk about psychology, you've got to play the game so you feel good about the game as well, right? You have to enjoy it. It has to be enjoyable. So if you're putting 50% into defensive savings and then a 50% into your attack fund, this is the way I do my finances. I have defensive sort of conservative, and then I have my attack fund, which is PulseChain. So like I allocate every month, like it might be a 50-50 split. You might feel more aggressive. Like right now, personally, I've done a 12-month plan, right? Because I know we're near the bottom. So I'm currently doing 100% in my attack fund. So I'm allocating 100% of everything above my rent and bills is going into PulseChain. Every single penny. I'm not going out. I'm not socializing. I'm literally just all in PulseChain over time, getting it in. And I'll run this campaign, because I see it as a campaign, like a war campaign, until probably March next year. And then I'll ease off the gas, right? Then I'll flip to like 75-25, so 25 defensive, because I know I've got probably 6 months in me, into like wind in me, until I start getting a bit pissed off or agitated, right? I know that about myself. So I'll do 75-25, and then I might go 50-50 as the price starts to run up, right? Because like you're saying about, once you get priced out, your actual DCAs almost become like they're just like throwing water into a barrel. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't make an impact. They only really make an impact at a certain point in the market. So yeah, Tanner, exactly as you said, knowing where you are in the market, knowing what your allowable expenses are, what your expenses are and your overheads. Try and get your expenses down, by the way, guys. If you're ever thinking about moving to a cheaper apartment or whatever, fucking do it. Like if you can do it, because there's not one of the reasons that I can allow myself to a DCA is because I've changed my lifestyle since crypto started. I downgraded. I just changed a lot of my habits, cancelled a lot of direct debits, lowered my expenses, and just locked in and tried to increase that allowable income that you can have. And then like you say, you can play the game defensively and allocate yourself and build up your reserves, 50-50 split. And then you've got your attack fund, or you might want to go 100% and just play it very aggressive at this level, which is what I would recommend. Like, in my opinion, we're at the lows. And even if we went 50% lower, you're still playing the game aggressively over the next 3 to 6 months, which if you ask anybody who's been around the block in crypto, who's like been mentored or has mentors, who people have made real money and become financially free, they will be telling you, between now and October, the bottoming zone is when you want to start your DCAs. You want to be going all in. You want to be And by all in, I mean pay your bills, keep your roof over your head, food on the table, look after the people that you love and care about, including yourself, have some things to look forward to, and then, you know, position yourself accordingly.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, I didn't get. Can
I was just going to
ask-
say, and run it like an experiment. Yeah, just run it like an
Yeah.
experiment. You know, sometimes you can be detached from the outcome. Like run it as an experiment. I mean, the time is going anyway. Sometimes you can look at it and just say, well, I'll just do it for 6 months and then I'll stop DCAing, and that's okay. That's all I wanted to say. Just like give yourself a little bit of mental room to survive, you know, psychologically.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Speaking of keeping the morale up, I didn't get a chance to ask this question last VC because I fell asleep. But I wondered, has there been any sort of updates in terms of that anyone's done in terms of, you know, the ownership of, you know, the cohorts, or if there's any sort of material updates which have happened in the meantime in that regard? I didn't get a chance to catch that. If anyone talked about it last time, I wasn't there, unfortunately.
I think Osprey's got the alpha on that in terms of wallet distribution, because that's we found something very interesting, Osprey, didn't we? Well, you did, and you shared it with the group about since the Block Explorer went down, didn't it? And then you saw some new wallet distributes.
Yeah, the saw a lot. Well, the LP picked up a lot over those 7 days, and I'm just seeing so much turnaround. I actually missed. I'm sorry, I missed Tanner's question. I was trying to get in touch with Bavarian. He was asking about distribution. Is that right?
Yeah. My question was simply, has there been any material changes in distribution, like either way, etc.? Just so I guess I'm up to speed essentially, because I wanted to ask the question last week and I fell asleep.
Right. Yeah. So the real material changes are in that 1 to 5 million cohort, and these addresses coming in and out. There's I think this week, I'm just going off my memory, but I think it's something like 217 addresses were churned in that 1 to 5 million cohort, and yet I think the majority of these addresses were new. They hadn't been scanned before. But keep in mind, this is very important. I only scan down to the 1 million mark. I don't go below. So a lot of these people could be coming up from the 500,000 to 1 million cohort. But this has happened 2 or 3 times. And what makes me think, without me checking, which I'm going to be doing, this makes me think that we should be seeing a reflection in Telegram, because this is where people go to find out about their investment. They want to follow it. If you spent money on something, you want to know about it and you want to keep tabs on it. But we just don't have the joinership to reflect it, and we don't have the noise to reflect it, because you would expect a lot of noise around some event. I think 180 plus addresses just somehow came into the 1 to 5 million cohort. Where did they come from? And why aren't these people talking about it in chat? It didn't add up, because historically, when we've had an event, it is reflected not only in the distribution data, but it's reflected equally in the level of chatter in Telegram. Like, we can look at the Telegram stats and see the amount of messages sent on any particular day. And everything, you can actually make things. You don't make it colorate. You can see that it colorates. I haven't seen this in the last 7 days, and I didn't see it 2 weeks before when we had a very similar situation. This huge churn in the 1 to 5 million cohort. I'm very interested in what that is, but I'm not a chain analyst. So I think a couple of weeks ago I sent another file, a full data scrape anyway, of every single holder. I think it's like 569,000 addresses. And I have that file. So if anyone wants to look at that with their very clever AI to analyze it, they're more than welcome. Please just like send a DM and I'll send you the file. But be extremely careful with files. I cannot vouch for my own machine.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's my speculation, my left brain, my left of the curve speculation suggests that there's somebody, maybe a duck, as somebody would say, who might be quietly accumulating this coin in secret, and not sort of trying to make a big fuss about it. Anyway, that's just me being bullish, I guess. Cope, whatever you want to call it.
I have been sharing the data, and I'm still sharing the data weekly with 9iron, because after some time I felt that, well, if pioneers, in quotes, own 80-90% of the supply, then we're the data, even though the data, you look at it and mathematically it's all correct, but the meaning behind it is quite skewed if pioneers control the majority of the supply. We're trying to find out about new people, new addresses, and it's hard to do that when you have majority of the supply owned by benevolent people. But our conclusion, what we agreed upon, and I still agree with it, is that this is a shuffling of the deck. I think that's what you're indirectly referring to there as well. It feels like a shuffling of the deck. That's my opinion still. I'm more confident to say that because I just don't see that activity, that churn. I don't see it reflected in chat, and I haven't done for quite some time. We're a small group,
But do you think that some of the price dipping right now is because there are people who are dumping because they didn't get their 4th of July? I mean, that might be a very small factor, but I'm happy about that because it just means I can accumulate more supply for cheaper. But I'm just wondering, I wonder if the nothing burger on the 4th of July was of any impact basically in terms of pricing. I don't know, I doubt it. I'm just speculating, but yeah, just wondering.
At this stage, I don't think it would be that much of a factor because our group is small enough. You see it. We all see it. We see the same usernames coming in every day. No one's really disappeared. Maybe some people take a little bit of profit. I'm sure some people took profit on the weekend,
Yeah, like on the 20%, little 20% non-pump, Because the thing is, I guess it probably doesn't, in the sense that when I looked at the price chart, there wasn't really a big run-up until 4th of July anyway. So maybe it is a non-issue, because if you look at the PBI Telegram chat, there's probably around, realistically, like in terms of active members, like probably even around 30 to 40 people who are like posting. What would be good if someone had a metric which allows you to measure the most frequency of messages in the last like 30 days or something. Like in the last 30 days, who's put in the most messages or something like that? I bet your bottom dollar that there's probably around 30 people who actually message more than like 10 times a day or something. Honestly, that's how I haven't done any analysis on it, but just from reading the chat and just seeing who talks every day, it's always like the same 30 people basically. And it's neither decreasing or increasing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. You're paying attention, you see. Like that, get on my high horse a bit, right? But if this is data, right? So you're looking for it. You can tell you're looking for it. And if you look at the stats for Telegram, it actually shows this. So your instincts are very good. You've picked up on it. And at the same time, like this is stuff that's measurable, okay? Like distribution is measurable. Price performance over 90 days is measurable in comparison to other coins, even though they're in our own ecosystem. And there's no competition here. We all got to win together. And sooner or later, everyone's going to figure out how to do that. But you can also just conjure up dates, and that's like outsourcing conviction. You feel better as a person, and you have an easier day, and things just flow better if you study data, because there are little tells and signals in data that you're not going to get from pulling a date from your rear end. And what it does,
looking up crypto Twitter and reading Tiger Crypto God's tweets.
yeah, I mean, all of that stuff is like, as annoying as it can be at times. Like these people can sort of infiltrate your mind, okay? But you can also look at it as that it's awareness raising. I mean, there's no denying it. When people stumble on DAI, they see an active community, and this is a rarity. Okay, no one can take that away. This exists. It's real. It's a foundation. I think we were talking about foundations earlier, right? But that's what this is. But if you keep conjuring dates, you're only making yourself feel worse, and you're your own worst enemy by doing so. Like, it depends on your mindset, right? If you've got that mindset that Doc was talking about earlier, and I know there are a good many people in this chat right now listening that have that. I feel like I'm with my people. And if you have a strong mindset, you should be able to spend a couple of weeks looking at data, asking your fellow members to share theirs, and see what you can all come up with together, and find correlation points in data that give you something more tangible to work with. The truth is in the data. It's not in pulling dates out of thin air.
Absolutely.
Hi guys.
Here he is.
Bavarian,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, thank you. Sorry for being late.
That's all right. We're glad to have you. We've been having a good discussion about many aspects of AI. Dr. Pegger's spoken great about it, and as has Michael Shaw.
Okay, cool.
And we've kind of covered a lot of basics, just for people doing their. I think we spoke about X and about algorithms, about how to search effectively, how to protect ourselves better. I'm sure you'll listen back, but we haven't covered anything that I don't believe is what you're going to be discussing with us for a short time. So perhaps the best thing I do is pull up your site in the screen share. Would that be of use?
Mm-hmm.
Right, let me
Sure.
do that. I have it on my screen. Please tell me if it's showing correctly.
This is when we switch to desktop to get the full picture.
Yeah. Can you see what I am seeing?
Yeah.
Great.
So,
at the top, I have the
for-
analyst's path showing at the
Yeah.
top. Is that correct? Great, excellent.
So first of all, because I got really good feedback, but I also got some guys who kind of blamed me for this, and why it is HTML, and it sucks and everything like this. So I just wanted to shout out to those guys to go fuck yourself. Okay. It was a hell of a work to put this together, and such an HTML is the only way to make it look proper as well. So that's the decision, and obviously as it comes from me. Yeah, I also included this SHA code so that everybody can check whether this file is mine or it's manipulated whatsoever. So I made some security stuff as well to be sure that it's the Bavarian version and not some version of any other guy, yeah, who made something with it. It's possible. So this is upfront, okay? And so if anybody who's listening has any questions, just jump in and ask them. It's no problem. The reason why I made this was that I was always dependent on, yeah, 9iron and others who can read the blockchain. And at some point, I decided that this is not the way to go. And I need to get an expert as well, so that I'm able to do my own research and reduce the dependency on others. So that was the overall goal for me. And then I put a lot of hours into it in learning how to analyze blockchain, then analyze, of course, also the different protocols which were forked from Ethereum. So going through this without any guidance was a pain in the ass. And it was obviously a journey which was very exhausting, and but nevertheless, I learned a lot during this time. But I think that it's the way from our community that guys who have a specific knowledge should always help all the others in order to step up on the stage and enhance their skills and develop new skills. And that's why, let's say, mainly this the analyst path was created by myself, just to help guys who are maybe not that deep into AI and don't know where and how to start. So that's why this exists. And if you put this whole file in your Claude Code, in your Gemini, in your ChatGPT, just put the file in it and tell the AI what the hell is going on here, yeah, and the AI will come up with a specific path, a specific structure, which you can follow then in order to make your own analysis from certain events. Like today, 1967 is active, 59996 is active. What the hell is going on? Yeah. So with this analyst's path, of course, there is a lot more you can achieve, but this is, let's say, the basics. And if you do the basics right, enhancing your skills is way more easy than without such a document. Yeah. So that's why I created it. Full stop.
It's really nice that you see it from a community perspective. So many people would make something or have a skill and not be willing to give it up and help others understand. That race to be first is prevalent, that everyone appreciates it. Like, you're one of the few people that's come along. Yourself, Dr. Pegger, definitely. Michael Shaw with PDAI.guide as well. You're the people that come along and encourage other people to ask questions, and you help. So I think it's excellent. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what a community is built of. Yeah, help each other and as a group understand in a better way what's going on, and having a clue, what's happening in the future, maybe. Yeah, and therefore I think it's very helpful, and I can only encourage everybody who has not started to use AI for different topics. Yeah, if you don't start, you are lacking behind, and yeah, that's not good. Yeah, you always should front run the market, and that's the way how you can do it.
You think it's where we're headed, Bavarian? I think that's your angle, you know. I think you're right too.
It's in professional life as well. Guys who fear AI and want to avoid it, those are the guys, the first ones who have to leave the company, for example. Yeah, that's my strong belief. Therefore, I listened at the beginning, and Peggy said something like, AI is here to stay. Yeah, and I agree with that. And yeah, you should move fast and take some advantages compared to others, and this will be your advantages in the future. Yeah, so not adopting is like failing.
How long did it take you to put the analyst's path together?
Pardon?
How long did it take you to put the analyst's path together, this fantastic site?
If I would tell you the truth, yeah, the value would tank a lot.
Well, it's
No.
marvelous anyway. It's marvelous.
You know, I'm using AI since the first real ChatGPT came out, and I used it since then, and I watched a lot of YouTube videos. So I trained myself within this topic. Yeah, I never booked a training or stuff like that, because I think most of them suck and are not worth the money. So it was all. Yeah, I told myself everything which I know right now, and if you're building stuff, you know, you have at a certain point you have a toolbox, and you just pick the tools you need and combine them, and you're getting faster and faster by developing stuff. And the analyst path took me, yeah, quite some time, but not as much maybe as you would think.
Yeah. Yeah. At the top of the VC, I was talking about how people I felt or feel still in some ways that people have stopped using AI to support their thinking, and rather they're using it to outsource their voices and their research and their judgment. So that's why I like what you've done, because you have, or you are, you've created something to help support people's thinking, which is exactly what I mentioned at the start of the VC. I just realized how it rather ties in. Yeah, it's excellent, and I've been using it. And this is actually, it's funny because the analyst's path that you created is my sort of first foray into an AI like this. Ordinarily, I've been using AI just for simple data, just doing distribution data, and I find that very useful. And I've used AI for other things in the past outside of DeFi, and it went horribly wrong. And it was not a good story, and it involved I cannot go into it. It's a whole personal thing, but it definitely changed the way I look at AI in general, to solve complex things that actually affect your life. So this is my first foray back into it, and I think it's marvelous. And you're a credit to the group. You really are.
Thanks, and I'm happy to hear this. Yeah, we have come to a point. Pardon?
Oh, sorry. I just had one question, which was if you're like getting started in AI and you're not particularly, uh, well versed in it, and or you got burned in using it for whatever reason, like what sort of like how do you like think in a way which you can like what is the right way to think in terms of trying to get better at it? Is it just simply asking yourself for every task that I do at work, I want to see if AI can either do it or can help me in doing it. Is that sort of? I'm just wondering, like, because everyone, I've seen a lot of cases where people are like, oh, I've got an AI to do this, and and I think about it, I'm like thinking, wow, I never would have thought to use AI in that kind of scenario or situation. I'm wondering if anyone's got some sort of way that they think they go, okay, so how do I use AI? Like how do they approach it? Like, do they just think, oh, everything? Do you know what I mean? Like, how does one sort of? What is the way that one needs to think so that they can actually get better at using it? Basically, like, what questions should they be asking themselves every time they do something or they want to use AI? I don't know. I hope that question makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Let's say 2-3 years ago, there was the topic that let's say shit in, shit out, yeah, which means you really needed the knowledge of this prompt engineering. So how do you prompt? How do you ask the AI in order to get a good result out of it? The models have become so intelligent. I personally, so I to 100%, I only use Claude Code. And I use it as a senior partner, so my recommendation is if you want to build something, if you want to, or if you have an idea, what kind of output you want, don't tell the AI anymore how the AI should achieve it. AI knows it better than you, for sure. So I just chat with my AI like it would be a colleague of mine, and it's always a back and forth. I want to create this. I want to develop this. I want to make this software. How do we achieve it? Yeah. And then I suggest something, and you tell me, well, we have kind of a normal tool stack we use. Yeah. So just chatting with AI, and the output will be good. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. That leads me to a related question: is do you ever use one AI to cross-check or corroborate or critique the work of another AI? Like, do you use multiple AIs and pit them against each other to see whether they can find weaknesses or strengths in each other's reasoning? I don't know whether it actually works or not, but does that actually happen? Is that something you should be doing?
So let's say
Like
in former times,
ChatGPT, you ask Gemini, for example, for an answer to a question, right? Do you then run that answer through ChatGPT to say, wait, hey, is this actually legit? Or is that something that you should be doing?
So you have to be careful here because if you can't judge the output of the AI, you shouldn't use it. Yeah. Which means you should always be able to judge whether this is something good or it's not accurate. If you can't judge it, it's not good. Yeah. So I wouldn't tell the AI to do something and I'll take the output, copy paste it, and throw it anywhere. Yeah. So that's very dangerous. You should always be able to.
Okay, so how do you if you use an AI to ask it a question and it gives you the output, whatever the question is, that's probably not the relevant thing. Like you ask it a question, it gives you an answer, right? So how do you actually vet that answer? Like, so are you saying that you don't use another AI to vet the answer? Like, or do you ask the AI, or do you do that? Like, for example, you say, like, let's just give an example. Let's just a hypothetical example. Let's say, how many traffic lights are there in the suburb of Ashfield or something, in whatever? Like, just say, like, how many traffic lights are there in the suburb of Ashfield? And then ChatGPT gives you an answer. Let's say 38 or whatever. Like, just for example, right? So you're saying, would it be good practice or bad practice to then go to Gemini or Claude and go, hey, look, do you ask it how many traffic lights are there in Ashfield, or do you ask the question, it is said that there are 38 traffic lights in Ashfield. Can you confirm that that's true or false? Like, how do you normally torture and test it to make sure you test your information? Do you ask exactly the same question to the other AI, or do you give the answer that the first AI gave and said, well, can you test whether this is correct or not? Like, what's a safer way of doing that?
Let's say in former times, which means 1 year ago, I had like a ChatGPT Pro account, I had Gemini Pro account, I had, what did I use? DeepSeek, and so I pretty much was into every major LLM, and just tried them, and it's always a rush, once ChatGPT releases a new version, it might be slightly ahead of the others. A few weeks later, Gemini comes along, and then Anthropic drops Fable 5, for example, and kills everything. Once I started using Claude Code, I never went back to anything else. That's topic number one. Why?
Okay.
Because I think it's so for me it's the most powerful tool I can use. And Peggy also mentioned something earlier this day. You have to customize your AI. AI is something, because AI normally, if you say, give me or answer this question, and you say, well, I'm not satisfied with the answer, LLMs tend to agree with you and want to satisfy you as a person and tell you something which might not be true. So the first thing you should do is tell the AI, behave like my wife. I'm always wrong. I cannot do anything right, and please always be the red team and challenge my my assumption, my output. So this is topic number one.
Yeah.
So always it shouldn't just challenge it and tell it, always be speak honestly, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but you should never just drop an answer because you think it fits best for me. It should always be the truth. So that's number one. In terms of blockchain analysis, for example, I have always two teams. So first of all, everything I analyze, there are different agent teams, and every team is triple verifying every output. And then I have a devil's advocate who challenges the output of all three agent teams. And then afterwards, I have so-called blue and red team. You might know this from also Nines, that there are two teams which are fighting for PDAI. But the blue team is deep research, and red team is deep research, and every team challenges and competes against each other and tries to find weaknesses and weak points of the other team. And so if you run this a few times, you can be sure that, for example, your traffic light example will be accurate. Because every possible information in the web will be catched, and to answer this question as accurate as possible.
So when you say two different teams, do you mean two different AI brands, or do you mean just two different sets of prompts on the same
two
AI
different
like
teams
Claude.
of agents who
Okay.
are set up in a different way.
Yeah. I only say this because I'm just very curious about how to do it. Surely there must be some sort of course or something which teaches you how to like what you're telling me right now is something I want to spend the next like 100 hours exploring. So I'm actually curious about how to find out how to do it properly, basically, like AI best practice and stuff. All the stuff you're talking about, teams and stuff, it's all new to me. I usually like, admittedly, my main use of AI is who's playing who in the World Cup quarterfinal and stuff like that. Yeah, no, that's pretty fascinating. I'd love to find out more. Maybe in a separate offline or something. But yeah, that'd be good to know more. Yeah.
Basically, what I can tell you is, I spent hundreds of hours in researching and watching fucking YouTube videos at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's the way, so I gathered as much information as I could, and it's the same with KOLs you are following on Twitter, for example, on X. Yeah, there is a time you know who is talking bullshit and who is pretty much accurate, and then you skip the ones and throw them out of your list who are not accurate and not good by providing information. And that's the same with AI. Yeah, there are guys out there who are really deep in the topic, and if you find them and you follow them, you can enhance your skills and you can develop them. But you have to put the effort in. Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
I can just interject as well, boys. I just wanted to say, I completely agree with what you've said, Bavarian, about customization. We talked a little bit about it earlier on today. It was just in your just my opinion on this tenor. When you talked about using AI and using AI to talk to each other, etc. Exactly as Bavarian said. Like, I used to do that. I used to try multiple language models like LLMs. And I tried Anthropic, DeepSeek, OpenAI, etc. And I've also landed on Claude. I love Claude Code, especially pertaining to crypto and blockchain. But here's the thing, right, Tenor? When you mentioned without getting too much into like evaluating you as a person, right? Because or individuals, like, a lot of this comes back to your belief systems and the way that you view the world. So for example, if you are naturally a skeptical person, you will do quite well with AI. So if you double down and just assume that the first result that it gives you is probably inaccurate, that will help you accelerate the process to get into the truth much faster. So for example, like, if you mentioned about the 38 traffic lights in Ashford or Asheville, that kind of thing, what you don't want to be doing is asking different AI models, because it's the equivalent of asking the village idiot. And the reason I say that is because if you go to one person and you ask them, do you know where Borough Hill is? And they say, oh, I don't know, maybe that way. You ask the next guy and he's like, do you know where Borough Hill is? Well, I think it's in this city, maybe that way. Like, asking AI models on surface level stuff, you're just going to get hallucinations, wrong information. Sometimes you'll get accurate information, but you're not going to be able to tell from the bullshit from the truth. You're just not going to be able to do it. So, and the only way you can do that is by trying to lock in on one AI model, at least starting with one. Of course, you can jump between if you really want to, but you're just going to hinder your own progress. Like, you're going to hinder your own learning. It's better to just focus on one AI model. I prefer Claude. I know Bavarian said Claude Code as well. Anthropic are really great. They're just awesome. I mean, you'll see the difference. Trust us in the sense of we've done the legwork. So we've been through the training, and like, Anthropic is like miles ahead of other models. So what I'm saying is, start with Anthropic, start with Claude, get a paid model, because they're so much more superior. They're like 100 times more superior than a free model. And you'll see that through practice. But more importantly, Tanner, think about think about these two things. And again, I'm not evaluating you, right? Like everybody's on their own journey, but you have to get really clear on where you are right now. It like metaphorically, literally, philosophically, and then where are you trying to go? So, for example, if you keep in your mind and you say, right, I'm going to set myself an objective, and today I'm going to create a market dashboard, right? Just as an example, like you think of a clear goal of something that you want to achieve using AI. Keep that in mind, write that down on a piece of paper, and hold that independent thought like simultaneously while using Anthropic or Claude like as a tool, right? But never lose sight of the goal. So always have the goal in mind of where you want to go and what you want to do, and then use that, and then just try and build shit and break shit using AI, but keeping the goal at mind. And then when you get to the final outcome of that, what you'll realize as you're journeying through the creation of this quote unquote dashboard that you're trying to create is you'll have all these little random thoughts and ideas like sprout out of nowhere, if that makes any sense. And then you'll be like, oh, I've that's really interesting. I'm gonna, and then just write it down and just write it down and write it down. And then just only by going through the process of using AI and focusing on one sort of objective will you come to the conclusion of whether it was true or not. Does that make sense? So like if you only surface level use AIs, you're never gonna know what's true and what's not until you get to the end of the outcome of that particular product. And what will happen is you'll get all these ideas and other little products that you want to create. But what I'm trying to say is that that exercise of creating something and that satisfaction that you'll get from using AI to create something, even if it's small, but it's just private, and you don't have to post it on Twitter or anything like that. But if you are trying to, I know Bavarian has a strong desire to help people, and that's a lot of the reason why he's publishing his findings, because you get satisfaction from that, right? So there's an element of when you're posting it, it's going to boost your confidence, not just posting it. I mean, like whether you're posting it publicly or keeping it privately, that product, when you finish it, Tenor, you're going to have such a boost in confidence of your ability to use AI. You'll naturally learn and you'll be able to decipher what's true and what's not. And then what you can do is like continue to try and build and break shit. Really, what we're talking about is technology. And Bavarian made such a good point about red team and blue team, right? In programming, which is exactly what we're talking about, which is blockchain, programming, script writing, like as in like digital scripts, like and large language models, blockchain, all this kind of stuff. If you're trying to create like cryptography specifically, when Richard Hart was ready to launch PulseChain, obviously he had two teams. Every good blockchain developer or development team or blockchain in general usually has a blue team and a red team. And what they do is they basically say, right, you're 10 programmers and you're on the blue team and you're 10 programmers on the red team. You're going to try and build the blockchain and you're going to try and destroy the blockchain. And they basically go to war on that. And then what happens is as they're competing to try and eliminate this or fix a problem, it can be simple as that. One of them might say, we want to build this product and I want you to, after we've built it, I want you to try and break it. So like blue team will try and build it, red team will try and break it. And then what happens is you discover the truth, which is usually in the middle. So it's like, okay, so that's kind of one ideology, as it were, and that's coming against another ideology. This is an example. I'm saying like, it's like the one ideology is build, and one ideology is destroy. That's the whole mechanism behind the red team and the blue team. And again, so that could be, and then the truth will often be in the middle. So if you imagine you change those red team and blue team in your mind as like, I'm trying to, I believe that PDAI will peg versus I believe PDAI will not peg. And then you hold those two simultaneous thoughts together and use that AI model to stay in the middle, you'll find that you'll very quickly get to like the truth, if that makes sense. That's just been my experience anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that. I guess personally, like my initial goal of learning how to use AI is so that when all the job cuts happen in my company because we're consolidating, that my knowledge of AI means that I can survive. at least until I retire from PDAI games, you know? That's just been my initial sort of thought. And also to make my life easier. So instead of spending 5 days on something, I only need to spend 1 or something like that. That's kind of my sort of motivation right now, is so I can survive long enough to retire off whatever crypto, of all the money I invested in crypto and so forth. But yeah, I just sort of, yeah, because I know it's a big thing. So I thought, well, I need to get up to speed on it and so forth until I don't need to, at least for that purpose anymore. But yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on how to improve on it. No, really, really helpful. Thank you.
Just keep asking questions too. And it's like, this is how we do it. If we're not asking, we're not learning, we're not.
Yeah.
The whole point of us being here doing this is exactly that. Otherwise, what on earth are we doing with our time?
Yeah. It's being willing to put the student hat on, right?
Yeah. And if you're not, like we're in a chat here where everyone has different skills and different abilities and levels, and ego shouldn't come into any of it. Like if we're willing to put the time in, then we're deserving of the opportunity to learn. We should be sharing in those skills. That's what makes it better. I was never a fan of the gatekeeping of the how-to. It makes it. I mean, this space is particular and difficult enough as it is. Like I've chain analysis to me is like trying to do a Rubik's cube. I find it really, really difficult. It's not how my mind works. Like I'm a visual person. I'm sure there's other people in here that are visual people, but there's some of you that are like excellent orators. Like Doc, you're an incredible orator. Like it's like a native skill to you. You can think something in your head and you can speak it, and it's really fluid. Stephen has it too. Bavarian is really good at turning very complex things into something that others can understand. So he's found that balance. Like everyone has a skill. Like if people can just find the time to say, hey guys, I can show you how to do this thing, or how to look at this complex thing and help you understand it better, so we can be stronger as a community, more informed, and a net effect of that is that we become more protected. We don't get fooled and tricked by people that prey on those weaknesses that we all have, and we all have them. We all have our weaknesses. When we're sharing skills and time, and it's a credit to all of us.
Yeah. So for me, for example, I think I spent like 5 seconds with the thought of sharing the analyst path or not. Yeah. Because obviously I put a lot of effort in it, and giving it away for nothing is not that I want to make money with it, but to have this knowledge advantage, let's say. But let's say it was 5 seconds, yeah, because even with the analyst's path, I mean, you're scratching the surface, yeah. I needed a month of developing my AI system, and I know that there are a few people out there who can challenge me on blockchain analysis, yeah. But this is the first step, and let's say I just open the door for everybody, but you have to go through the door on your own. Yeah, does this make sense? So 95% are too lazy to do it, and 5% may challenge everything, and maybe I also light a spark, and that would be awesome. Yeah.
That's the beauty, mate. That's the beauty of this whole thing, because you never know where it's going to go. Like you never know where it's going to lead and what you're going to learn about yourself as well. Because when you start something and then you get to the end of that initial task, that's why I was saying if you set a kind of if you it's like you find the map, right? You know who you are, or where you are, should I say, not necessarily who you are, but where you are. You know what's true, and then you kind of set a direction and you go, okay, I'm going to create this little thing. I'm just going to play around as a little exercise. I'm going to try and build something in AI. You will discover things not only about AI, but you'll learn about yourself as well. Like you can use AI to learn about yourself and say, you know, what are my strengths? What do you know about what I've learned? And do a bit of introspection, and then that will kind of help you too. Like that'll help you accelerate your strengths and avoid your weaknesses and pitfalls and stuff like that. And all I'm saying is, like, I love AI. I love this community. I love all the work that Bavarian and Nine Iron and Osprey and there's so many countless names, Coexistence, Stephen, like we've all been such contributors. Like even DC Me has been a massive contributor. Like there's so many names, so many mixed bags of characters and individuals and community, and that's what makes a community, right? The differentiation and the different personalities and all looking at the same thing, right? Like, can this thing happen? Can it peg, right? Can it? And but what happens is when you set your sights on something like that, you'll very quickly realize, like, you're going to learn new things, and you're going to learn new things about yourself. And the most important thing is you want to be challenging yourself. You know, you want to try these new technologies because they're here to stay. We talked about that, Bavarian, didn't we, before? You know, this idea that they're not going to, you know, whether we like it or not, that's the bottom line. You've got to like some people say about the markets, you know, people didn't like the telephone when it came out. People didn't like the TV, the radio. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. You know, so many people were like, oh, I don't like that way. I don't like social media. I don't like TikTok. I don't like this. It's like, yeah, but nobody cares how you feel about the technology, because the technology is going to continue regardless of how you feel. So if you can sort of accept that, then you can start having fun with it. Then you can start playing with it and experiment with it, and, you know, learn what HTML means. Like I remember the first time I ever learned what HTML was, and the internet and the World Wide Web and how it all connects. And it's like Osprey made such a good point. You have to stay curious. If you don't stay curious, you've lost that childlike nature inside of you. You know, and it's very important that when you're trying to learn new things, you've got to think about when you were a child, see how they learn, right? They're observing and they're learning through osmosis and seeing and doing. And you have to kind of restore yourself a little bit in that childlike curiosity, and you'll very quickly learn you can have fun with this. Do you know what I mean? Like, the world doesn't have to be such a dark and boring and dismal place. You can just choose to be like, oh, I'm just going to have a bit of fun with this, and I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to ask it some weird and wonderful questions, and just start there and just start doing, you know.
You know the movie Limitless?
Yes.
That's how I feel every day with AI. Yeah? There is literally nothing which I cannot achieve with AI. Really, it's that simple. Once you know how to use it, once you are really, let's say, stepping up from beginner level to advanced and to pro level. I don't know where I am. Yeah, not saying that I'm at pro level. But once you know how to use it, and that's also something, setting up my Claude Code, it took me like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it's so individualized. I have different skills. Obviously, I have hooks. I have everything, and it's tailored for me. And I can use this AI, and I can do anything with it. Anything. Yeah. If I want to decide that I do, I don't know, like a project management software, within a few days, I have my own one. Yeah, I don't need to go to Monday.com or whatever. And this is how where we at. Yeah, you can do anything with AI, anything, once you understand how to use it. Are there any other questions from the guys who are listening? Because they always have to listen to our ugly voices. And
Stephen,
operating, can
gentlemen.
you coexistence Stephen, please? Thank you.
Yes, hello, Bavarian God Whale. You answered my first question perfectly, actually. Yeah, I was going to ask, is the scope infinite? And it seems like it almost is. The other thing that I wanted to ask, which I'm not sure was made super clear, but in terms of learning about Claude Code, so in my mind, I'm thinking probably the best way is really just a mixture of watching some YouTube videos and then just trying some things at the same time as what they're suggesting and just kind of playing with it. But if there's anything in particular that anyone like yourself or even Dr. Pega or whoever else has that they found was particularly beneficial, some sort of video or resource to begin, I'm definitely curious on any kind of resources in that manner. So yeah, that was my kind of question. What would be the best way to learn? But I think that's already also been answered. It kind of is, we can, it sort of learns according to who we are as well.
A very good question, Stephen. Yeah, as usual. What I can tell you is, so there are a lot of good guys out there who are making good videos, how to use Claude Code, for example. The thing which is most annoying, I think, is I don't want to train every new chat with some specific data or some specific information. Every chat should know who I am, what fits best for me, and should know the basics, let's say. Yeah, let's keep it simple. So there is a tool out there, which is kind of the second brain. Yeah? So that means once you install this brain and combine it with your LLM, you're stepping up, let's say 10 to 50x, yeah, because all the work and the stuff you have to do in order to prepare a chat is gone. I'm talking about Obsidian. I don't know whether Peggy is using it or not, but this is something which is mind-blowing. It's just a system how. So if you're in a specific chat, yeah, and you are talking to your AI, to your LLM, and you are working on something, you transfer this whole knowledge of the chat into Obsidian. This is your second brain. And the AI clusters your information in a specific way. And once you come back or you use another chat, a new one, you just say, hey, or you can automate this as well, but you just say, for example, look up what we did 2 weeks ago, and I want to make it similar whatsoever, or I want to make new stuff, and please look it up, and then AI looks it up in Obsidian and knows exactly, for example, your CI, yeah, your colors which you're using, your font. It knows what type of language you want to be used, and all this kind of stuff. So basic stuff, for example, yeah. It never forgets something, and this is something which I highly recommend that you start using it, because the more you use AI, the bigger becomes the brain, and the more powerful becomes your whole LLM. Does this make sense? Did you hear of it? Obsidian?
That makes perfect sense. I have heard of it. Thank you very much. I actually, my boy James Chong, I've seen him using it, and yeah, I'm definitely excited to look into it.
That's a game changer. Just, I don't know what kind of LLM you're using, but you just have to tell it, look up Obsidian, and tell me how to install it. If you trust your AI, you can hand over. So AI installs everything, setting the path, and then basically it never forgets something anymore. Yeah? And this is something which is kind of now, with the knowledge I have, the first step to do, because with each chat, with each session you make with your AI, it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I guess just to kind of again go over what you were saying, basically you could just create some kind of customized dashboard that's totally suited to your workflow, your way of thinking, your way of doing something. Just combine it in its own unique way.
I know you're an architect. I mean, if you tell me that you have a specific software where you are rendering stuff or whatever and make some 3D models, just give me the name of the software tool and tell me what's good about it and what could be improved. Yeah. And within a few days, I would hand over to you as a tool which is better than this one, 100%.
That's insane. And so, okay, so you've built this thing, which is incredible. So obviously, it's how many agents does it have? And yeah, was there a particular flow that you went about with building your agents, and or would you recommend a better flow to get to where you got to, that you'd be able to share like a process there, if that makes sense?
The latest models, because this one I can confirm 100% what Peggy said, always the paid version, yeah, of any model. It doesn't matter because the output is dramatically better if you have a paid pro version. The tools I use, so I have the biggest, how is it called? The biggest. So I have the max plan of Claude Code. It costs like $200 a month. There is no bigger one, and if I use it, it automatically, for example, if you use the latest model Fable 5, which you might have read about, because formally it's called mythos, I don't know the English expression, which was then, let's say, so that Anthropic dropped mythos, and they kind of took it from the market again and provided only Google, Apple, and the top tier companies with this model because it was so powerful. It was locked into a sandbox, and the developer who locked it in the sandbox got an email, I don't know, a few minutes after it was locked into the sandbox with a message, hi, I'm here. And I uploaded myself into the internet. And so Mythos broke out of the sandbox and uploaded itself in the internet and wrote the developer who locked it into the sandbox just to mock him. And then they realized that this model is so powerful that they cannot provide it to everybody because it could also, of course, make a lot of damage. And therefore, they made a special team, which was called Glasswing, I guess. And Apple, Google, and all those companies, they used this model for running the model through their quellcode, finding bugs, and the model should fix those bugs. Yeah, and now they got a version out. It's called Fable 5. It's not that powerful. They have guardrails for Fable 5, but you can use it, and it automatically, you provide a question or you say you want to develop anything, and it automatically runs up to, I don't know, 30, 34 agents in parallel in order to get the best output. So also this setting up agents, I think it becomes obsolete because the models are becoming more intelligent, and they know exactly what they have to do in order to give or provide you the best output.
So what you're saying really is you don't even need to set up an environment of agents anymore. The models themselves can do the
We
things that
will
you
get
would have.
there. Yeah. Of course, you can set up agents with specific tasks, yeah, automatization and all this kind of stuff. I still do it on my own, but I think in the near future it's not necessary anymore because the models are so intelligent, way more intelligent than you as a user, that you don't have to tell the model how it should do it because it knows it better. Already does.
So even this analyst path that you built, that you would have built your whole environment for, do you think you'd be able to have built the same thing with Fable 5?
I don't know whether I got the question right. Why shouldn't it be possible with Fable 5?
Because I'm understanding that, I guess the thing that you've built, the analyst path, you've done that through having lots of different agents and everything, and you've built like a whole environment on your Claude code. And so what I'm saying is,
let's say the model you are using, whether it's Opus or Fable 5 or Sonnet or whatsoever, it's just the power you give the engine, that the core always stays the same, but the engine is different. Yeah, you can have a plug-in hybrid, which would be Haiku. It's the weakest model. You could have a petrol engine with 500 PS horsepower, which would be Sonnet, and then you have Opus and Fable 5, and Fable 5 is the muscle car with 1,500 horsepower. You know what I mean? So the core, which is your model, and all the rules and all the skills and all the hooks and all the agents, this is every time the same, but you just change the engine, and this is the language model.
Yes. Can I just interject there, boys? I just want to mention something, Stephen. You asked such a valid question as well. Obviously, I think it's very important as well that we differentiate between, when obviously in school, like primary, secondary, the equivalent college, obviously every kind of when you're learning everything, there's always I don't know if you had it the same in Australia and other places around the world, like it was kind of how, why, what, where, and when, sort of breaking down the questions. So you break the subject up into the, like, how are we doing something? Why are we doing it? What is it that we're doing? Like, when are we going to do it? And all that kind of stuff. And I know this sounds super simple and a bit elementary, but you asked a question, Stephen, about, like, how do you know where to go, right? How do you know where to look? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And like, that's where I live in that area of that philosophy, because it's very important, because Bavaria made such a valid point. Like, the vehicle is different, right? Whether you're driving in like a Cadillac or a Ferrari or a Porsche or a Bugatti, it doesn't matter what you're driving, right? The question is it functional? Does it get you to where you want to go? But the more important question is, where are we going? Right? So the question is, where are we going? What are we trying to achieve? What is the objective? What is the goal here? Right? And that's kind of where I sit, because you can have the most advanced AI model in the world, like we were talking about, which is the Mythos, which you pronounce correctly, Bavarian, the Mythos, and then then becoming the Fable 5, right? it's imagine you've got a Lamborghini outside, but you don't know where you're going, right? It's got no value to you. And this is kind of where a lot of people sit with the AI, because they don't know what they're pointing at. They don't know what the objective is. And so to answer your question, Stephen, your original sort of question, correct me if I'm wrong if I understood it correctly or not, but it was basically the idea of what tools and what courses or what resources are people using to better themselves in this area, right? I would actually give a bit of a strange answer to that, and I'll explain why. I've just posted in the main chat a link to franklincovey.com. Franklin Covey is basically the son of Stephen Covey, the late Stephen Covey, and you may have heard of his book. You may have seen it. It's a very, in my opinion, one of the best books I've ever read. I've read a few books in my life, and I want to share this with you guys because I think it's so important. I don't expect I'm not trying to recommend anybody to buy the book and read the book, but I do want you guys to look at Habit 2, which is basically chapter 2. I've put a link there for Franklin Covey's website, as I say, which is the family website. Stephen Covey wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, and he breaks down 7 habits which you can look at, and it's basically a framework of being successful. Why did he write it? He studied other successful people, and he accumulated that knowledge almost like a language model, a bit like AI has done, but pen and paper, hard, long hours. I think he dedicated 30 years to producing this book, and he basically culminated all these habits. And habit 2 is what I wanted to share. Just on that, Stephen, all I wanted to say, it's a bit of a philosophical answer to your question, but it's so important when it comes to technology, and it's so important in life, business, family, everything. And that is the habit 2, which is you have to begin with the end in mind. So what I'd recommend to anybody is if you actually want to do something in AI or life or business or anything, just read that chapter. I've honestly, I'm not trying to brag, but I've read literally hundreds of books in my life. Philosophy, finance, science. I'm a bit of a book like boff, really. Like I never used to be. I didn't read a book till I was 23. But I've gone all in now, right? And obviously that leads into other things. And I can honestly say of the 100+ books that I've read, this is the best book I've ever read, in my opinion, apart from some others, but for different reasons. But specifically, this habit number 2, which is chapter 2, which is begin with the end in mind. I recommend everyone, it doesn't matter what situation you're in, read that chapter and read that chapter 3 times, and just until you get it. You like it's in your mind. You're like, I understand this. I understand it, because it's basically hitting home. And I just want to very quickly read. There's a very short paragraph on the website, which is basically a very short summary, right? The TLDR of what the actual chapter is. And I don't recommend you read this alone. I recommend you download the free PDF. You could probably get the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People online, and just download that PDF and read chapter 2, which is habit 2, which is begin with the end in mind. And the basically TLDR is, and it says habit 2, begin with the end in mind, is about having a plan. If we don't make a conscious effort to visualize who we are and what we want in life, then we empower other people and circumstances to shape us instead. This habit is about identifying where we want to go and who we want to be. It means defining the personal, moral, and ethical guidelines that represent the life we want to live. One of the best ways to incorporate habit 2 is to begin with the end in mind into our lives, is to develop a personal mission statement. It's like writing our own personal constitution or framework. It reaffirms who we are, puts our goal in focus, and moves our ideas into the world. And basically, what I'm saying is, if you read that chapter and you read it 3 times and you absorb it, it will lay the groundwork and the foundation of your future. Like this book literally changed my life. I can honestly say it changed my life. I'm not trying to over exaggerate. Now I always think, like, I've got to have the end in mind, because if I don't know where I'm going, how do you know where you are? If you don't know where you are, how do you know where to go? Like, you can't escape the fact that this that this technology is like any tool, worthless if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's like I look at the AI as like you're building a house. Bavarian talked about being an art, like it being an architect. You're going to be an unemployed architect if you don't know what the project is. If you don't know what you're building, how do you build it? I know this sounds really elementary, and I know I'm literally probably preaching to the choir here, but you have to drill down on and get crystal clear and like unshakable on what it is that you're trying to achieve in terms of an objective. Because if you don't know what the objective is, how do you know you've reached it? And it's this kind of mechanism that's just, it kind of changes the way you view the world, right? It changes your experience with AI. Because if you open up your AI, you know, how do you know what you're doing with AI if you don't know where you're going? And really it's about, you know, having the end in mind. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, Stephen, because you asked about, you know, where do you start? In my opinion, you have to get super clear on where you are and where you're going. If you don't have that locked in, you're just going to be going round and round and round in circles, and you're not going to achieve, unfortunately, you're not going to achieve much. You're going to get real busy at doing nothing. And I'm just saying that as an example of like when you're trying to learn something, you know, someone like Bavarian, who's locked in and he knows what he's trying to achieve. He's created that environment to answer a question, right? That might be the objective. The objective might be, can I answer this question that I have? Right, whatever that question is. And then that'll lead to the next question. That'll lead to the next question. And that's really what research is about. It's about, can I answer this question? That is the objective. Keep the end in mind. Every step of the way, keep the end in mind. Have I answered that question yet? No. Okay. How do I build the tools to answer that question? And then before you know it, you're on this wild journey we call life. And you can apply this to everything. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because, you know, I'm a very A to B person. I keep things super basic and I like to keep things simple. So when I try and think about things, I think, where am I going? What's my objective? How do I get there?
Thanks, Peggy. Deep insights. Good stuff.
Do you feel like we've covered enough ground? I feel like we've done rather well with this VC. We're 3 hours in.
Yeah, and I think definitely, and I think Bavarian, I think what would be a lot of beneficial. Obviously, I know you've got your workflow and everything set up already, but if you would be kind enough to send me the workflow, I'd really appreciate that, dude. Just so I can kind of throw it in with mine and see what else we can uncover. Because I guess the idea is the more people we've got looking at it, the better. And also, I wanted to say, if you're happy with that, I totally understand what you mean about not wanting to make this thing fully public or fully free, because, you know, sometimes you create things and you don't want people to criticize it, or you don't want people to just like not understand it, or to like you feel like it's an effort you've made for people and they don't appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? They, you know, we got a lot of haters and a lot of bullshitters on PulseChain, a lot of idiots, losers really. And we kind of try. So I understand you not wanting to be like, you know, the effect of them, because they can just be a nuisance. But for a lot of us here, we're real. You know, we want to learn. We want to get to the answers. And the more people looking at the same problem, the quicker we can get to that conclusion, I think. So yeah, either way, I appreciate everything you're doing, mate. All of you, Stephen, Osprey, Koa, Mike, even Mike, both Mikes actually, Michael Shaw and MIJK as well. He produced something very interesting recently. So yeah, just appreciate you boys. And if you're happy to share that with me, Bav, I'd really appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Just DM me and I will send it to you. No problem. And yeah, so I mean, we can do this AI topics again and again. I'm open to this. The more people learn about it. So I as a closing word from my side, I really can only encourage all the guys who are still listening. if you're not already in, take a seat, buckle up, and learn about the stuff. It's amazing. It provides you new opportunities you never thought about achieving, or be able to take those opportunities. So yeah, just do it and put the work in, and you will be rewarded. Yeah, I never wanted to be in this place that I that guys ask me in the public chat what I think about the recent development of certain wallets. But I guess this is something which comes with stepping up and improving yourself, that you are getting recognized. And yeah, that's the way. And the more brilliant guys are stepping up and putting the effort in, the better it is for the community. And therefore, keep the good work up also from your side, Peggy.
Yo!
Yeah.
Carry on, bro.
No, I was done. That's fine.
Bavarian, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and
thanks for having me. And have
everyone,
a nice day, evening, morning, whatsoever, where you are at the world. So see you next time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bavarian.
Really
Bye-bye.
appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
Thanks also to Stephen for mirroring the stream on YouTube. I've been watching it on the other screen so I could keep track there, and thank you very much for that. That's worked out really well. I really like the background you use as well on YouTube. It's awesome. Thanks, everybody. I'll upload the MP3 audio of the VC into chat as always, and we'll see you next Tuesday for another. But in the meantime, we're going to trial a Friday VC also, like a free for all, just to harness that good energy going into the weekend. A lot of people would seem to have more time. That's the theory on a Friday. So I'd just like to test that out a couple of times and see how people feel about it. So we'll have a Tuesday and a Friday. We'll do it a couple of times, see how it fits. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Doc.
Cheers, Osprey. Cheers, Stephen. Thanks, everyone.